Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls, and this is now episode 186. In this episode, we're going to go over my tight end rankings, our thoughts on Aaron Donald's record-setting contract, Deshaun Watson, reacting to PFF's top coaches list, and previewing the AFC South. A quick YouTube member and Patreon shout-out to Phantom Wolf, Danko Hawkins, Matthew Jimenez, Varon, Dennis, UK Boj, J Love, Clear, Zach W, Cole, Deshaun Watson's top 5, Alexander, Nazir, Dwayne, Riv is a gorgeous man, Scary Terry, Travis Toomer, Drew's the GOAT, Holmes, Nairi, your boy Nick, Jake the Snake, Corrupt, Kobe, Dylan, Afosa, Mason, Win in Silence and Make Them Think You're Losing, Gentile Drew, Cade MVP, Mark, SP4Z Shot, Jordan Watt, Evan, Dylan, Joel is the GOAT, Mayo, Andre, Peter, Daniel, Ben, Ruthless Rootster, Kill Moves, Joel B, Eagle Dollar, Tizzy, Corey, Get Funkoed, Dylan, Playboy, Orlando, Big Chuck, Michael, Cole, Liam, T Grove, 17, Tua Sucks on Ka, Ryan, It's Black Ace, Anthony, BJ, PJs, Langston, Jazzy Juice, Johannes, Dave, Muffins, John, Sean Triplet, Burner Hoops, Court Cousins, Hikari, and Jay Aqua.
Good old Jay Aqua. Let's go, sir.
Time to get into a lot of controversial topics. Well, not controversial, just the Deshaun Watson thing.
Very
controversial on his end. We're going to be reviewing his very alarming New York Times article. Go over the AFC South and see where we
Your
have
squad.
Everybody.
Your boys.
My Indianapolis Colts.
Your boys.
I hope that you've been keeping up with the OTAs that's been going on because there's been somebody
Harris Campbell breakout.
That's what's going to happen.
Harris Campbell.
I'm starting that agenda on this episode. You know what I noticed? The other day I was playing Warzone with Pee Wee, and I also noticed this when he was on the show last time, that at first when we were first on the show, whenever he would say my name, he would say Joel. Then I think he got into his own head and was like, is it Joel or Joel? Then later in the episode, he started saying Joel. I played Warzone with him, and then he said Joel. And I'm like, I didn't have this problem before Joel came on the show. Now everybody is having second thoughts, and they're not sure how to correctly pronounce Joel, my Joel.
Yeah. Because
they're like Joel. And I'm like,
it ain't that complicated.
It fucked everything up, man.
Did you tell him that it was Joel?
I didn't, because I'm gonna be honest. Like
I hate correcting people whenever they mispronounce my name.
I don't have patience to correct people with that.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Personally, and they say Joel, I'm just like,
whatever.
All right, yeah. Like if somebody says it, like for example, we're playing Warzone, he's like, yeah, Joel. Like there's a guy over there. I'm not gonna be like, yo, it's Joel. I bet I'm gonna go over there. Yeah. Like I'm just gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna answer what he was originally saying.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm talking to you, I'll accidentally say Joel and immediately realize, Joel, my bad.
Commonly.
Of course.
You still mess up his name?
No, I say Joel.
Now you do.
Now for sure.
Often,
no.
Commonly it's kind of.
But as soon as I say it, I realize I'm like, oh shit.
Because you have to make that distinction now. Because you put me in his sense. Like he said some wild things, and you can't be like, oh, Joel said this, when you're really talking about me.
That's facts.
I know. Might be talking about Gabe Davis. And
You know what I said. You know what I should have said actually.
What?
You make a good point. Because on Twitter, I remember that you made a comment. You made a tweet about my running backs list. And I could have very easily responded to that, like, why are you talking about yourself?
I added you, though.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Did you add me for real?
I did add you, yeah.
I don't think you did.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. But either or, if you didn't add me, I could have just responded with that.
You could have.
Like, why are you talking about yourself, dude?
I don't put out bad content.
You don't put out any content.
Chill, Joel's Takes. Come on.
Joel's Takes, yeah.
Subscribe.
Once every few weeks. Yeah, we got to get back into that.
We got to all start putting out these lists to go viral.
I know.
We're going to be known as
the
people on the...
working on the list.
I think to come up to the NFL season around August.
For sure. You dropped it super early.
You dropped it mad early.
Yeah, you got to be first.
Yeah, but it's given us content for the last month, for being honest.
Yeah, I dropped it early because I don't know. What's the point of waiting?
There's none.
Yeah, like my opinion would have been the same like now or later.
You think so?
Yeah. I probably would have been higher on some players had it gone later, honestly. I actually looked at PFF's top 10 wide receiver cores. They had Denver at 10 because they're counting on a Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick. They know that Judy's the X factor, but they're more sure on Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton's impact in the type of offense with Russ.
PFF's funny. I don't know who. Maybe someone there watches our stuff.
The Saints made like 17.
I feel like 17.
Yeah, they were 17.
I feel like we did the running back list. A few days later, they came out with the running back list. They had the Colts second overall on that list, by the way.
I did see that.
We did the wide receiver ones. They did the wide receiver ones. So, shout out to the guys at PFF.
Also, the Vikings were not top 10. They were not top 13.
Receiver core?
Mm-hmm. Because they said it's just Jefferson and Thielen, and then nobody else.
Best wide receiver. Osborne was solid last year.
That's why. I don't know why.
It's a big reason why last show that I could be convinced between them and Denver because Osborne actually had some solid production.
And you have a top 3 receiver.
It's because he has an 87 speed in Madden.
KJ?
Yeah.
That seems low.
That's a shame.
No, that's very low because
that's a shame.
It seemed as if he had a few touchdowns over the top.
Plays for sure.
Yeah, those are big time plays.
Before we get into it, my memory the loud, sometimes it messes me up. But last time we were here, last Friday, we were talking about our next episode and the Celtics series. And I believe, just correct me if I'm wrong, my dear friend Joel said the Warriors were going to be up 2-1. What happened? What happened last night?
I mean, it's just the Warriors got exposed for the lack of size. They don't have rim protectors.
Are you scared? Let me not say scared. Any concern seeping in?
At all?
There's concern there. But I'm going to be honest. Like, I told myself this yesterday. I really don't care who wins the finals.
But you want your prediction to be right.
I want it to be right to a sense, but
and this guy's
and then you're gonna have to live with me being right.
That's even worse than being wrong.
Yeah,
that's by far the worst.
I really don't care. Like for me, I'm more about the thought process than the
process over
than
results.
The conclusion, right? Because the Celtics can win, but the thought process behind the series was still correct.
Why?
I don't really trust Boston's offensive consistency, and the offense they let the Warriors go on these runs. But what I did overlook when previewing the series is that Golden State has serious lack of size. I knew they had lack of size, but I thought Kayvon Looney could maybe mask that a little bit. But there are just too many players right now that are not ready to play in this type of moment. Like Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Jordan Poole is very inconsistent.
You were more worried about Boston's offensive inconsistency than Golden State's when Curry's really their only consistent scorer. While
I think Golden State is fine offensively. I don't think offense was their problem last night. What their problem was that they couldn't get stops.
They scored 11 points in the fourth quarter.
Okay, in the fourth, but in the second,
it was a 2-point game.
In the second quarter,
and Curry had 15 in the third.
In the second,
couldn't hit a shot in the fourth.
In the second quarter, the Warriors were cutting down the lead. The reason that they can never catch up is because Boston just kept scoring. And that's because they're able to drive at will. It doesn't matter whether it's Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. They were finding those mismatches. And I think the bigger
Steph Curry. That's really
literally
the bigger problem for the Warriors, in my opinion, is their defense. It's not even their offense. I think their offense is fine.
No, the issue is when the Celtics don't turn the ball over, they wax them. We had 4 or 5 turnovers in the entire second half.
Tatum, when he has more assists than turnovers in the last 10, you guys are 6-0. When he has more turnovers than assists, you guys are 0-4.
And you saw the stat under 16 turnovers makes a huge difference. Like we're 13-2 under and terrible, but I don't remember the exact record. Don't turn the ball over, rebound, and we could win in 5. But they're going to get another game.
You're not going to win.
They're going to get another game. I know.
They're going to win next game. Game 4, and it's going to be 2-2 going.
I don't know if we get some more FU chance, they might freak out and go 0 for 30 from the 3-point line.
I don't know, man. It might be over in 6 in Boston.
I highly doubt it. I think I picked Golden State in 6. I am more like when you ask me about what am I worried about, I'm worried that it's going to go 7 instead of 6. Like my worry is that it's Golden State in 7 more so than it's in 6.
You have to rely on the Celtics turning the ball over. That's the only way they win.
I mean, the Celtics have been getting. I mean, for one, Clay had his first good game,
and we still beat them
in Game 3. You still beat them, but
double digits.
Curry, but you still beat them. But Draymond played like absolute garbage.
Draymond's gonna give them at most 10 points.
But there's a difference. There's a difference. To me, Draymond doesn't impact the game with his points.
You're right.
He impacts the game defensively. Yesterday he was not good defensively.
Yeah.
Game 2
he had 3 assists too, or 4 assists.
Yeah, Game 2 he was phenomenal defensively. So for me, I look, and also Curry getting into foul trouble early really hurt them because when
stayed in the game.
Not the entire time. In the first quarter, he got the 2 fouls. In the second quarter, they started off without Curry. And the thing is, like, they can't play Curry for more than an extended period of time. 4 minutes is like the max amount of time they can go without Steph Curry on the floor. Because, like you said, it's not that they don't have no offense. It's that he is their offensive engine. So everything runs through him, and he's the one who makes everything easier for everybody else. But a lot of people played bad. Draymond played bad. Andrew Wiggins couldn't hit a shot. They weren't good defensively.
Wiggins had 13 in the first half.
Yeah, but he was inconsistent all night long. I feel like he missed like 4 wide open threes.
Yep.
And Curry got into foul trouble early. Jordan Poole is yet to find any type of consistency.
He was a good game too.
Yeah, he was all
right.
He had a
Hit
stretch.
17.
He had a stretch where in the third quarter where he was
You're
hitting
taking
threes.
17 from Jordan Poole every night.
It depends on how he
If you're
gets
the Warriors,
them.
you'll take
In the
anything
first
right
half,
now.
I didn't think Jordan Poole played well. So
Well,
this is going to be a
yesterday played
gruesome
well at all.
series. I think there's a lot of things going on in this series. It's a lot of big time matchups. It's a lot of different counters that they're doing, and I like this series. So I'm fine with who wins
Once
it.
the Celtics stop playing drop coverage on Steph Curry, I don't know if
Al Horford's a liability.
there's
out
something
there.
to worry about.
Al's a
For sure.
liability out there.
Sure.
That's why I need Rob 100%.
And Rob, not ironically, plays his best game of the finals, and they can't really do anything offensively
when
on
he's
the
stepping
boards.
up, he's too long. He's a 7'6" wingspan.
But this is how series goes. It's up and down. It's
It is.
pendulum swings.
And especially in the finals like this, one game, the momentum shift feels so crazy.
Warriors win next game. They now secure home court advantage in the series.
Yeah.
Well, then they now have the chance to go into Boston up 3-2 or go into Golden State tied 2-2, win that game, then go to Boston up 3-2. That's why I feel like I am more confident in it going 7. I doubt Golden State comes out and plays how they played in game 3. Just what Draymond says in the pressers, Curry, his injury wasn't as serious as some thought it would have been, and he said he's going to play. I think the real adjustment that Kerr's going to have to make is he's going to have to just let Clay, Steph, and Draymond play 42-plus minutes. I don't really feel like there's any room for giving them much breathers. They just have to be on the court at all times.
The Celtics just have to take care of the ball and rebound, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, hopefully you see your team win the championship, man.
I'll be ecstatic.
It's not like it'd be the first time anyway.
I know, but bro, it's been 12 years,
Yeah.
13 years, yeah.
And I don't know. Something feels better about this one.
14, man.
14, yeah, facts.
Something
Last time
feels
there was-
better about
we were in
this
the
one. You were in
finals
at
at
12,
least,
yeah. What were you saying, Joel?
Something feels better about this one if they win the championship this year.
Yeah, because it's all guys that have been here. You know, Al's the only one that's, and Derek White obviously, but like all guys we've drafted and been a part of the squad for a while. It's been the same core with Smart, JB, and Tatum.
So how do you feel about people now bringing up the debate that Jaylen Brown is just as good as Jason Tatum, if not better? Because he's
thrilled.
right now he's like leading candidate to be Finals MVP.
JB right now probably.
For sure. Not in the question. JB comes out every single game, starts off the first quarter,
On fire.
guns blazing, and it gets the momentum going for the Celtics, and you just really need Tatum to figure it out eventually, which these last 2 games he 100%
Tatum's been
has.
shooting great from 3. It's just those 2-point field goals and a lot of layups he's been missing too, especially last game. Missed a lot of layups that he usually hits. Jaylen Brown's been that guy. He's been that guy. Just a lot of people have been late to the party because of how the media
Casuals,
really... Listen, Tatum deserves his flowers, where the media hypes up Tatum so much that everyone kind of thinks Jaylen Brown is just a Robin, but he's a 1B. He's not a 2. He's a 1B. He is really, really good.
He's mad nice.
I think Jaylen Brown is amazing, but I do have serious concerns if he is the best player on your team. I don't know how far a Jaylen Brown-led team could take you
I mean,
in the playoffs.
right now they're
They're a Jason Tatum-led team. Jaylen Brown is having a stretch where he's playing better than Tatum, but this is a Jason Tatum-led team.
okay. So you don't have to worry about it as long as they stay together. That's something that
Which they will.
I think.
But
so
the
too.
question is, what do you think a Jaylen Brown-led team ceiling is?
The thing
Because
about-
they're comparing him to Jason Tatum right now. I think
what do you
Jason
have
Tatum
around him,
is.
though?
I think Jaylen Brown is a top
25.
25 player, locked in top 25 player. Jason Tatum's a top 10. He's, I think, just outside. He's between 7 to 8 range, 7 to 10 range.
What separates the two is that Tatum can play make amazingly.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
But he goes into
He's a better
stretches
scorer,
too,
though,
where
too.
he turns the ball over
He
a
is.
lot.
He's a
more
better scorer, too.
yeah,
He's a more versatile scorer
Yes.
for sure.
That's why, like,
he's a deeper bag if you're a bad guy.
Exactly.
Like
Which
if
is why I
Jaylen
say
Brown,
versatile.
like I don't know if Jaylen Brown was the best player on like let's say he goes to the Kings. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
you know.
the Kings don't have much to work with.
That's an extreme example, but
Like if you take Tatum off the Celtics, I still think they're a playoff team, but they're not making the finals.
They're a playing team.
Yeah, that's fair.
that's why I think although Brown's getting a lot of hype or deserved hype because he's deserved
he's been
it.
balling.
I feel like people got to tone it down between him and Jason Tatum because it's clear that Jason Tatum has the capability, has the talent, the skill to be the best player on the championship team, Jaylen Brown is a complementary piece in that. Not taking anything away from him, but I doubt that he can lead a team as the number one guy that far, even a conference finals appearance.
Well, the Celtics just have such a complete team that, like, you have Marcus Smart, who give you 20 every night, be defensive player of the year. Rob Will's been amazing. Grant has hit big shots. Derek White. Like, they're just such a complete team that even if Tatum is off, you have JB and the rest of the guys to bring him up and bring the team up, which is what happened in game 1.
Yeah, I agree. And Marcus Smart getting 20-something, it's not going to happen next game either.
I've heard this how many times, dude?
That's cool.
These
That's
role
cool.
players of the Celtics are
We
nice
hit shots,
and they're
bro.
consistent.
We hit shots.
I'm
like
just
that
saying.
all
No, I know.
postseason.
Well, it's been like Marcus Smart has a good offensive game, then has a bad one. It's been like that all postseason too.
So then you can bank on whether it not be next game, the game after that he'll come back and have a good game. That's just how it's been.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just worried about this next one, Game 4, which Golden State is going to win.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's see.
they
it, man.
won't, and they've came back from 3-1 before.
They have.
So
Not in
They
the
definitely
finals.
have.
Only
I was
one.
gonna say,
Only
in
one
the-
team has
in
done
the
that.
conference ship,
oh
but
yeah,
not the-
so they
the
know
finals.
how to not. They know how it feels from the opposite end,
They do.
and they know how
Well,
to.
they
dish
were
it
they
out
were down
too.
2-1 against the Cavs when they won.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's facts.
Yeah, they were talking about it post game.
Man, better hope, man. Better hope, man.
I'm excited.
I mean, to me, like I already said, I really don't care who wins. Riv is more so like the Golden State guy.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's a I'm not gonna get into it.
Even though they try to discredit my prediction along with to hype his up.
It'll just be great to go back into our most viewed video and see a 3-on-1 handicap match, and
Stay strong.
only guy who stood 10 toes down right
the-
here chooses Celtics.
Brandon Ingram's closer to Jason Tatum than Jaylen Brown is one of the craziest takes the show has ever seen. We've seen some
Insane.
crazy takes.
Listen, Pee Wee isn't.
People agreed with that, though.
Yeah, and they're nuts.
That's crazy. You're saying BI is like a top 12 player at that point. If we think JB is a top 20, 25 player, like you're putting Brandon Ingram in your top 12 to 15, which
That would mean Ingram would have to be like 16.
no,
I don't
but he's
think
saying
he's
it's closer to
16.
Tatum.
No, I know. I think Tatum's like not 8-9 right now.
I'm
think
closer
he's-
to 5 than 9.
I agree.
I think there's 6 guys that clear him. In the league
Are they all
currently.
finals?
Embiid doesn't clear him.
I think Embiid clears him. He's an MVP candidate.
I was gonna say hasn't won it yet.
Oh, 2
Come
years in a row.
playoffs.
It's just Boston's such a much more complete team.
We are. Very
Like
complete
if
team.
Embiid is on that team, I think they have similar success.
That year against Toronto, they had a very complete team.
they had a
They were
complete
a
team.
shot away too. I mean, like
for sure,
literally
for
a
sure.
ridiculous
They had a
shot
complete
away.
team, but they had no continuity. It was a team that just got
Thrown
thrown in together. And then everybody left. And Ben Simmons was unhappy with his role because Jimmy Butler had the ball most of the time. Like, I feel like Embiid, he needs a fair shot. So I think Embiid's still the better player, though. Like, that's the same argument with, like, the D-Book thing, that he was the best player on the best team in the NBA. Like, even
So
with
you would
that,
take
there are
Embiid,
other
like
players.
if you was a fantasy draft, redraft in the NBA, you're taking Embiid over Tatum?
Yes.
Oh, no, I would take Jason Tatum.
I'm taking Embiid over Tatum.
I'll take
If
the
it's-
wing. I'll take the
I was
guy
gonna
who's
say the wing
more
I would
consistent.
rather.
If
Three,
it's
the
one
guy's
guy I'm building my team around, I'd rather build
perimeter
my team
defender.
around Embiid.
stays healthier.
And then, like, I'd rather it's Giannis, Joker, Luka, LeBron, Steph, KD, Embiid. That's 7.
Even though he just smoked KD. And
So
then
that's
he
why.
looked
And
like a
then
baby.
I don't think there's a huge gap between Paul George and Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
And
Paul
they're
George's a
like
good player.
they're literally in. I think Jason Tatum's in that tier. I think he's like a tier away from being.
Paul
in
George
the
is a
elite
top
tier.
10 player.
Yeah, but there's a difference between Paul George and Luka. There's a
Wait,
difference
so Paul
between-
George is top 10.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler.
He'd be 9-10. Paul George.
You said Tatum was 9, so
I mean,
said 8,
but
9.
yeah. So
Trae
I
Young.
named 7. I think I would take Tatum over Trey. Jimmy Butler played better than Tatum in the playoffs.
Bro, he had
But
a
I
few
would take
games where
Tatum.
he dropped literally less than 10 points. Like 3 games
He had
less than 10.
a messed up knee.
And Tatum's had a shoulder injury
No,
for
I
a
understand.
while. And it started in that Heat game.
I would put Tatum over Jimmy Butler still. So,
Rightfully
but
so.
Butler would probably be behind him, or I would have Paul George over Butler. So yeah, they're top 10 players to me.
Kawhi Leonard still.
Yeah, I'm not counting him because he's hurt,
I know, but-
he's a guy that you got to put in there too. So even if I think Jason Tatum's in that tier though, because Kawhi is only gonna be ranked lower because he didn't play, but Kawhi is in that elite to elite tier. Like if Jason Tatum has to win his championship, then go into next season and have an MVP caliber year where he has like a top 3 year, for me to be like he's one of those elite guys like Luka, Steph, the Joker, Giannis, like that type of guy. But right now he's like in the Paul George, Jimmy Butler range to me.
That's cool.
Yeah. So on to the show. Let's get on to it. Reacting to my tight end rankings. So this time, I'm definitely going to put the list on the screen. I keep forgetting, but I'm going to do it for sure this time.
You got scolded in the comment section last video.
Why does he never put the list on the screen? I'm going to do it this time. So let's go from 32 to 1. 32, Hayden Hurst. Then 31, I'm just going to start naming the names. Mo Alley Cox, Jonnu Smith, Brevin Jordan, Gerald Everett, Tyler Conklin, Irv Smith Jr., Evan Ingram, Austin Hooper, Cole Kmet, CJ Uzama, Jack Doyle, who's retired, and that was a mistake, Noah Fant, Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee, Robert Tonyan, Mike Gesicki, Pat Freiermuth, Albert O, Dawson Knox, Zach Ertz, David Njoku, Hunter Henry, Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts, Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, and Travis Kelce.
You couldn't say Okwukabunam?
No,
I don't think that's how it's
No?
pronounced.
Yeah.
I don't think so either.
So because Jack Doyle retired, a guy I would have on the list would either be Harrison Bryant or John Bates. John Bates is from Washington, one of the better blocking tight ends last year as a rookie. So those are my honorable mentions. And teams that didn't have a tight end on this list: Saints with Adam Troutman, Giants Ricky Seals-Jones, and Panthers Tommy Tremble. Now, give me your thoughts on this list.
So, first off, good job on making this list. Of course, you put in the hard work for it.
Good job for putting in the work.
Absolutely,
I don't know if
that's really about it as of right now. I'll say this. I think my boy Dawson Knox needs to be a little bit higher. I think he's in that top 10 conversation, especially after leading the league in touchdowns at the tight end position. Hunter Henry was a little high for my liking. I understand, yes, he was the number one tight end in that Pats room, especially with Jonnu Smith being there. He basically took over that number one spot and was seemingly Mac Jones' number one option. But I don't know. I feel like Hunter Henry has been hit or miss, whether it be with injury, whether it be his consistency on the field. Yes, he had a solid year, but I feel like I would rather the ceiling of Dawson Knox, especially with Josh Allen, over Hunter Henry. Dallas Goedert at 7. Not that I don't think that Dallas Goedert's a fine player. I feel like Dalton Schultz, after last season and really the last couple of seasons with Dak Prescott, he's done a great job being a receiving tight end. And now that he's probably going to become Dak Prescott's number 2 option in the passing game, I feel like he could enter that conversation of the top 6 tight ends, at least statistically. But other than that, I mean, once you get past 16, I really don't care too much, honestly.
I'm surprised. Your boy Noah Fant seems way too low to me.
Noah
Fant at
so?
20 with being the number 2-3 option with bad quarterback plays, putting up 600 to 700 yards every year.
It's going to continue. It's going to continue where he's.
But like Robert Tonyan's at 17.
Yeah, because
he had a big touchdown year. He only had around 500 something yards.
I'm fine with Tonyan being there. He's a decent blocker. He's a fine pass catcher.
And Green Bay has no
a good red
they
zone
don't.
option.
No, they don't. But I'm thinking you put Noah Fant on that Green Bay offense with Aaron Rodgers. He putting up much better numbers than Robert Tonyan.
Well, that's the thing. The weird thing about how my lists are constructed is that I'm very selective about my my ranking process, and the ranking process differs based on what I want to do and how I feel at the moment. So basically, this is not.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's
this
nice.
is not solely projection based. So this, even though there are some that I do take that into account.
That's why you've been so on the fence.
For example,
I'm confused with
Noah Fant. The players he's behind a guy like Logan Thomas, who Logan Thomas last year was hurt. But
he's the new Jordan Reed because when he's on the field, he's a bucket. But in 2020,
Logan Thomas was phenomenal. He had a lot of receptions, and now Carson Wentz historically has thrown to tight ends a lot. You look at Philadelphia, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. You look at even Indianapolis, Jack Doyle had one of his better receiving seasons with Carson Wentz. It wasn't that many yards, and Mo Alley Cox had a pretty good year. So I think he just loves targeting bigger tight ends, and I think Logan Thomas is that. Mm-hmm. Tyler Higbee, Rams offense, he's just one of those consistent guys. Robert Tonyan, borderline Pro Bowler. He should have been a Pro Bowler over Evan Ingram in 2020.
Who would you have switched to?
I think if you just switch Fant and Tonyan's spot, then that 17 to 32 range feels fine to me.
I just feel like I'm not a big fan of Fant. I know Fant was a highly rated prospect coming out, but I was never a
You're
big
high on
fan
Albert
of
O. You have him at 14. He hasn't done anything in the league.
Albert O. That's why. For me, for one, he is now playing with Russell Wilson. I think Albert O has more of a chance to have a breakout year than a guy like Jeudy. And I know that's a hot take, but that's how much I love Albert O.
Bro, do you know Albert O's career high in yards?
He was tight end too. You want to give it to me?
330 yards, 350
All
yards.
all I'm gonna say is because I was ready to be
Over
like,
Judy's
yeah, I'm gonna
crazy.
support you, and then you say something just
This is the
absolutely
thing.
egregious.
Albert O.
I'm gonna support you. He's a very fast tight end.
Put
You
up
watch
330 yards
it's
last
just
year.
you watch Broncos games, and there's not one time I watched Broncos games that I went, I think no offense better than Albert O.
No offense, better
That's
than
that's
Albert.
strong.
I
That's
think
strong.
No
I've
offense
always
better.
watched it, and
Strong.
I've said Albert O is a much better guy, and I can't wait till they get Noah Fant out of here.
That's strong because Noah Fant is very strong.
He's
He
athletic
has
as hell,
very,
too.
very good hands. Super athletic is very well said. Alberto's main strength is his speed.
Yeah.
He's super fast
But
for
Noah
the tight
Fant
end
is
position.
fast as hell, too.
He is. He's
Well,
very. He
Noah,
is.
size
Noah
as well.
Fant, Noah Kent, I don't care.
Oh my god.
I'm not a big fan of Noah Fant.
Another thing I want to say is the reason why I'm fine with Pat Freiermuth at 15 is because the quarterback play is in question right now. You don't know what's going to go on. But last season, he was a great tight end option for the Steelers and was a big part of them having success on offense, whether it be to Deontay Johnson or Pat Freiermuth, especially down in the end zone. I feel like 15, especially with either Mitch or I'm blanking on his name right now. Thank you very much. Kenny Pickett coming in being the quarterback. I feel like 15 is fine, but I would not be utterly shocked. Like guys like David Njoku, even Hunter Henry, I wouldn't be surprised. Njoku, I understand that he's an all-world blocker, but I feel like Njoku at 11 is very generous.
I also thought Njoku was too high. I mean, he's been in the league for 5 years.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go over
Topped
right now.
500 yards one time.
I'm gonna go over each one right now. Travis Kelce, self-explanatory.
Yes.
Mark Andrews, self-explanatory. George Kittle, self-explanatory. Rob Gronkowski.
You got some heat over this one.
Yeah, I don't know
Gronk was
why.
great last
Because
year when he was healthy.
in 12 games, Rob Gronkowski put up
805?
802 yards,
802.
and he also had 6 touchdowns.
While
Like,
being an elite blocker.
while
he was
also
all-world. He's
being-
arguably still the best tight end blocker
while
in the
also
game.
having a 113.6 passer rating when targeted. So Rob Gronkowski to me is not only still one of the better pass catchers, he's possibly the best blocking tight end in the NFL still. Kyle Pitts at 5, I just project him to have a better year than Darren Waller. I think now that they added Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfro's there, Darren Waller's he's gonna be the one that's gonna have to take that back seat.
You think him over Renfro?
Yeah, I do.
That's strong.
I do.
I feel like those two on the outside are just going to open up the field for him significantly. So I'm pretty high on
Renfro
Waller
and
still.
Waller are both going to do their damage over the middle of the field.
Definitely.
Dallas Goddard.
But Waller could do it on the outside also.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
go
know,
ahead.
your reasoning for Schultz over Goddard's not terrible. I know that Schultz is going to be the number 2 option, but I think that Dallas, now that they lost Amari Cooper, are probably looking at this offense being much more balanced than it has in years past. Dallas Goddard, to me, I think is the better player, but they just brought in A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith looks like a true number 1. So
him.
because of that, Goddard might take a back seat, but he's also been taking a back seat to Zach Ertz for the past couple of years and still putting up good numbers. I thought he had a better year.
And Hurts is still going to look for him
was
as
gonna
that
say.
security blanket. You know,
Yeah,
he's going
'cause
to be the one creating mismatches
Hurts
as well.
isn't a guy that stretches the field much either, so he
Even
does
though in
that.
practice he's been having a lot of long completions to Devontae Smith and AJ.
TJ Hawkinson, just much more talented player, I think, than any other guy that's behind him, like Schultz,
Dalton?
Henry.
Fair.
Yeah. Dalton Schultz, that's why he's
That's a
top 10 for me.
conversation.
Schultz and Hawkinson are not.
Yeah, no.
Hawkinson, he was a first-round pick. He was touted to be one of the better tight ends we've seen in recent years, but he hasn't lived up to that first-round hype.
And Hunter Henry, he's over Knox because he had more yards than Knox. He had the same amount of touchdowns as Knox. 119.6 passer rating when targeted. And I think that Hunter Henry and the Patriots offense, they're going to start to incorporate these tight ends more. That's why Jonnu Smith made this list for me, because
fine with it.
I know that
Jonnu's still a stud.
Yeah,
he just
I
wasn't
know.
utilized.
I feel like Mac Jones this year, building up that chemistry with Hunter Henry last year, it's going to be a better year if he can stay healthy, because that's the biggest concern with him still. Although he had a healthy year last year, he's still somebody that in the past has gotten hurt. But Hunter Henry, before he got on this trend of getting hurt, we were viewing him as a top 6-7 tight end in the NFL. So Hunter Henry's there. Njoku, this is off the assumption that Deshaun Watson is playing. Zach Ertz is there because no D-Hop for the first couple of weeks, although I have my concerns because Kyler Murray's not the greatest at looking at the middle of the field. And
But he ate with Zach Ertz when they played together last
They
season.
connected.
yeah, but he also missed Zach Ertz a lot. And I feel like, he missed Zach Ertz a lot. Dawson Knox.
Are you just saying that?
No, I'm not just saying that. The film shows it.
I feel like I watched a lot of games where Zach Ertz and him were really on the same page. But go ahead.
Dawson Knox, to me, you're right. I think he's a stud, but I'm hoping on the Gabe Davis breakout. I think it's going to happen.
It can listen. It's Josh Allen. He can make a lot
And
of people.
I frankly don't think like Dawson Knox has a significantly better year than last year. Like I think
Oh no,
Dawson Knox is one of those guys that he's
You
going to
don't think
remain steady.
significantly better than last year.
No, but
He just led the league in touchdowns.
He
I
had
think that he's still going to be
587
really
yards.
good.
I would say the yardage is what worries
Oh no!
me.
Like, do you see Dawson Knox?
But that's what I'm saying. The touchdowns can come down, but the yards he can be in that 700-800
Do you see
range.
Dawson Knox going for 800?
He missed games last year still, and yeah, for sure.
I think his touchdowns come down.
I think he played 11 games.
15.
15. Okay,
But do
I
you
think I'm
see-
thinking of Waller. I apologize, but
But
yeah,
do you see Dawson Knox going for like 800 yards?
he could.
For me, I think he's around that 500, 600 range yearly. That's
Yearly?
Yeah, I feel like the touchdowns could be there because
The
he's
one,
a red zone
and
threat.
the one thing I'll say is he started to cook last season where he had 120 something yards that one game against Tennessee. Then he got hurt. He
got
missed
injured,
some
yeah.
times and kind of ruined his momentum.
Yeah,
but
right
still
when he
was
was
a touch.
heating up.
But
Yeah.
he was still a touchdown throw regardless. I feel like so long as he stays on the field, maybe we'll see that yardage creep into that 7-8.
Pat Freiermuth, I think, I wouldn't, if you want to put him over Alberto, that's fine with me because he's more proven. Mike Gesicki, he's at 16 because he's frankly not a blocker. And he's
barely a tight end.
He's not a tight end. He
barely
doesn't
a tight
line up
end.
at tight end at all. I think
Does
he
Pitts
lined
line
it up
at tight end?
significantly more than
a ton
Gesicki.
more.
Really?
It's actually because I was looking at Pitts' numbers. It's damn near even out wide slot in line with Pitts.
That's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Like Mike
Gesicki's-
Gesicki
No, he's-
lines up
he's
as a
like
tight
90
end like
90
maybe 1% of the time.
Yeah.
So he's not, to me, he's not a blocker. He's a nice vertical threat. But all these guys that are over him, I think, are at least solid pass catchers and give you something in the run game where Mike Gesicki doesn't. I had to put two Jets in there: C.J. Uzomah, Tyler Conklin, Evan Ingram. You could argue he's higher because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a pretty good year. We're going to talk about that later on. Irv Smith Jr., I'm looking forward to that. Tyler Conklin was somebody we didn't really know about last year, and he had 500 yards with Kirk Cousins. So I
Irv
think
was hurt.
Irv Smith Jr., he's always been talented. It's just his injuries. Gerald Everett, I like him with Justin Herbert. And, I had to get Brevin Jordan in here.
That's your guy.
I think Brevin Jordan is a damn good tight end.
I like Brevin Jordan a lot.
Yeah.
A couple people were mad you had Hayden Hurst at 32. I don't know. People get getting upset over the 30th best tight end in the NFL.
Nah,
Hayden
but
Hurst
I understand
should have never
'cause-
made it my list.
Nah, I disagree because we saw what Joe Burrow was able to do with C.J. Uzomah. Now you have Hayden Hurst coming in there, probably
CJ's
going to
better
get some
than Hayden,
looks.
though.
Whether that's true or false, I
They're
just still
the same
think
tier guy.
exactly. I feel like you're with Joe Burrow. The numbers are bound to go up.
And yeah, Hurst has
and
put
Hayden
up
Hurst
good
is a
years in the
fine,
past.
exactly, and he's a good blocker as well.
Very
I
good
mean,
blocker.
the thing about it, this is the thing.
Here we go.
Hayden Hurst is fine. Like,
Shouldn't have made your list. Then who? Who would have made it over him?
I think Harrison Bryant's better.
That's strong.
No, I do. I think even a guy like John Bates is better.
I disagree.
Like, personally,
John Bates.
Hayden Hurst is one of the worst blocking tight ends in the NFL.
That's not true.
He doesn't even block. All he does is dive and tries to chip.
I understand.
He doesn't block at all. His best season came in Atlanta when he had like 500 yards receiving with Matt Ryan. But I think he's a package linebacker. C.J. Uzomah is a good blocker. He's a reliable pass catcher. Hayden Hurst, he has speed. That's really it. And he can take the top off the defense occasionally.
This John
But
Bates
for
guy,
me-
he better be a top 3 blocker in the NFL.
Oh, John Bates. No, he's actually like he's rated top 14 in PFF.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
bro, he had 20 catches last year.
No, I know. He doesn't add nothing in the pass game
I
much.
know.
He's
But
just
that's what
one
I'm
of the
saying.
better blockers.
He has to be an elite blocker at that
And
point.
even when he did that, I think he had like 200 something yards
Yeah,
last year.
250 yards. That's 12 and a half a reception. That's
Yeah. But
exceptional.
I know.
That's fine.
I understand what you're saying. But
Decent.
Hayden Hurst to me is one of those guys that he's one of those names that we look at because I think in fantasy he does provide some value at least in
Not
2020 Hayden
He's
Hurst
mid
to
in
me
fantasy.
provided value.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. In
Your
2020
team was probably sorry.
he provided me value. I finished actually top 3.
Oh,
But
nice.
he provided me value. But Hayden Hurst to me and with the Ravens he had flashes, but
He did.
there's a reason why the Falcons chose to get Kyle Pitts and not Jamar Chase. Like if they felt like the tight end position was solidified,
Well, Kyle
they
Pitts
would've-
is more than a tight end.
I understand what you're saying, but if the Falcons felt like they had, let's say they had Noah Fant on the team, they were not going to go Kyle Pitts. They would have went Jamar Chase.
Maybe, but I don't think any of these teams were looking at Kyle Pitts saying he's just a tight end. If we already have a good to above average tight end, 6'6", 250.
That's insane. And right
now, I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that if he was a good tight end, like a top 20 tight end, I think the Falcons go receiver and go with Chase rather than Pitts. But maybe. They picked Kyle Pitts because Hayden Hurst, he's 32. And I even said I wouldn't even put him really on my list. I'd put some other guys over him.
I mean, but we already see Kyle Pitts is, like, even if you had Albert O, that's not stopping you from taking Kyle Pitts, and he's the 14th best tight end.
Yeah, but that's Albert O's listing is projection based.
Okay, even if you have Zach Ertz,
so if you have
David Njoku,
if you have Dawson Knox,
you're still taking
over Jamar Chase though, because that's the pick that you took him
fair.
over.
I mean, yeah, Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts talking about two of the most exciting young prospects we've ever seen.
So if you're Atlanta, let's say like right hypothetical, you have Dawson Knox and you have Calvin Ridley out there. Are you going Kyle Pitts and now having Ridley, Knox, and Pitts, or you're going Ridley,
if I'm
Chase,
the Falcons,
and
I'm
Knox?
taking Chase, dude, respectfully.
And
that's
after what Chase just did, it's gonna be hard to argue not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if Hayden Hurst was top 20, I don't think they make that pick.
13th.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. They could add Mo Ali Cox, and I'm going Jamar Chase because Jamar Chase is just him.
No,
Jamar Chase. We're talking about someone who had 1,413 touchdowns.
I don't view Mo Ali Cox
going into the draft. Jamar Chase not playing for. I was still high as hell on Jamar Chase, but not playing.
I get it. No, I'm just saying. We're talking like in hindsight now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm taking Jamar Chase.
I don't view Mo Ali Cox as one of those guys that I'd pass up on a generational.
Could have Brevin Jordan. Could have Gerald Everett. I'm literally naming everyone in the bottom 25.
Yeah.
I'm taking Jamar Chase.
You want to give your top 10 tight ends?
Dude, I actually would love to do that. I'm going to go from 10 to 1. I actually have an honorable mention. It's actually Mike Gesicki. I have him at number 11. I understand what you're saying.
How to throw your Dolphin in there.
Of course, absolutely. I understand what you're saying about the blocking. 100% understandable, but as a receiving threat, he definitely is that. Number 10, I have TJ Hawkinson. Number 9, I have Goddard. Number 8, I have Schultz, which is why we had this discussion earlier. I feel like I just project Schultz to have a better year over Goddard, given the fact that I like Dak Prescott throwing the football a lot more than I like Jalen Hurts. Number 7, I have Dawson Knox. I spoke a little bit about it before. I believe in Dawson Knox ceiling, especially with Josh Allen as his quarterback. He showed that they have an immediate connection, whether it be in the red zone, whether it be trying to get down the field. Dawson Knox is a touchdown machine, and I think that so long as he stays healthy, the yards would be there as well. Number six, I have Rob Gronkowski, and he's not higher on my list because I don't know if he's going to play. There's always that injury concern where he did miss some time last season. However, when he's on the field, you could debate that he's a top 3 tight end, honestly. He's arguably the best tight end blocker in the league. In my opinion, he is the best blocking tight end, just over Kittle. And receiving-wise, when you have Tom Brady throwing the football and you're as sure with your hands as Rob Gronkowski, there's going to be success. Now, number 5, I have Darren Waller. I'm not looking too much into last season, into either over-analyzing it and saying that Waller's going to be a bum, or I'm just keeping consistent. I'm saying the fact that Darren Waller, prior to last season, was a 1,000-yard tight end, back-to-back seasons, was one of the league leader at the tight end position in receptions. I'm not going to look at last season and completely just throw his name under the bus. I think Waller's going to have a fine season, especially now that Devontae Adams is going to be there. It's going to alleviate some pressure off of him, and Waller is going to be successful. Number 4, I have Kyle Pitts. And Joel, I'm not going to front. You definitely had some influence on this. Kyle Pitts.
You have him 4?
Yeah, I have him number 4. Coming into his rookie season to have over 1,000 yards, to be as versatile as he is at the tight end position, you got to give him credit where credit is due. I do have my concerns with Mariota being his quarterback now. However, I feel like Pitts is being the only option there. He's going to be force-fed, and he has the talent. He has the athletic ability to be successful. Number 3, I have George Kittle. George Kittle is amazing, and
it's very good.
He is number 2 for me, blocking tight end. When Gronk's on the field, he's easily the best tight end blocker in the NFL. And he has unbelievable hands. It seems as if he's doing something acrobatic every single time that he's on the field. His impact is bigger than just his play on the field, his leadership. He is just an amazing ball player all around. But I can't put him over guys like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. Yeah. I have Andrews at number 2 and Kelce at number 1. And every part of me wanted to find a way to put Mark Andrews number 1. Mark Andrews is everything you can want in a tight end, truthfully. Is a solid blocker, is great running routes, great with his hands, fast. He can do absolutely everything. Strong dude. But Travis Kelce has just been a model of consistency year in, year out. He's always among the league leaders in receiving yards at the time of possession, and including wide receivers as well. Travis Kelce, especially with Patrick Mahomes, is just a force to be reckoned with, and you just have to give him that credit.
My number 10 is Dawson Knox. It was similar to
Wow,
you.
yo, I
Number 10 was
appreciate that.
Dawson Knox, but I had
appreciate that.
Gesicki. There's a couple guys for number 10. I feel like the top 9 is a lot more solidified.
11 Gesicki?
11 Gesicki,
Okay.
yeah. My number 9 is TJ Hawkinson. We spoke about it before. He was a former first-round pick. He got a lot of hype coming out of college, and I think he's underperformed up to this point. His best season, 67, 723 yards, 6 touchdowns. This past year, Amon-Ra came in as a rookie, had 900 yards.
Amon-Ra's him, though.
Amon-Ra, he's a good player.
He's
but
not good.
we're expecting TJ Hawkinson as that first-round pick to
Don't
be
disagree.
be the alpha there. He hasn't been able to do that yet. Number 8 is Dalton Schultz. 8 and 7 are very close to me. Dalton Schultz last year, first time starting with Dak. He was a starter last year when Blake Jarwin went out, but obviously Dak wasn't there. 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, and I think he'll have even more targets this year, obviously with Amari being gone, Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup being hurt. Wouldn't shock me if he broke 1,000 yards this upcoming season. 7, Dallas Goedert. It might be a bit harder for him to have the amount of yardage he had this past season, had 830 yards, but getting A.J. Brown in there, Devontae Smith in year 2, I'm not sure if he's going to have the stats to back it up, but in terms of just talent at the tight end position, Goddard is one of the best. 6, I have Gronk. He's dealt with injuries this past season and really throughout his whole career, as we know, but he averaged 67 yards per season. The only tight end to average more, or 67 yards per game last season. The only tight end to average more was Travis Kelce, one of the elite blockers, great in the red zone, great over the middle of the field still. Number 5, Darren Waller. Going into last season, you could have made the argument he was the second best tight end. Missed some time last year, and he really wasn't phenomenal even when he played. That week 1 game against the Ravens sticks out because I drafted him in fantasy, and he had 17 targets, I want to say, week 1. 19 targets week 1, had over 100 yards, but then only had 1 game over 100 yards after that. So when he
Tragic, honestly.
It is.
Tragic.
So when he was on the field, he wasn't great. But, Darren Waller has all the talent. Be interesting to see. Is it Renfro or is it Waller who takes that step back? I do think it will be Renfro just because I think Waller's a more talented player. Number 4, George Kittle. Might be the most explosive tight end in the NFL. He's a beast blocking, great over the field. I see Drew grinning because I have someone else at number 3. 71 receptions for 900 yards, still spectacular. Number 3 for me is Kyle Pitts. I know that might be a hot take to a lot of people, and we had this debate months ago when, what was it? Waddle, Jamar,
Is this
Kyle
projection based, like stats?
This is everything, what he did last year and what I think he's going to do in the future.
Okay, like future as in 2-3 years or just this season?
This year? Yeah, next year for 2022.
Okay, 2022
Yeah.
season. Okay. With Marcus Mariota.
With Marcus Mariota, and I get that. People are scared. When Marcus Mariota was Tennessee, Delaney Walker was elite. He was phenomenal.
Delaney Walker was nice, though.
I know, but so was Kyle Pitts.
Oh, for sure.
So was Kyle
for
Pitts.
sure. I'm just saying that Delaney's not a bum.
No, but in 2015, Delaney Walker put up 94 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns.
That's
the season
insane.
after that, he had 2 seasons after that with Mariota, over 65 catches, over 800 yards. Kyle Pitts, I know it's crazy to put him over George Kittle and Darren Waller and even Gronk right now, but I think this time next year, it's not going to be a hot take. He's only 21 years old, just had the second best tight end rookie season of all time, only behind Mike Ditka, who had more yards in just 14 games in an era where they really weren't throwing the football. Last year, 68 catches, 1,026 yards, only had 1 touchdown because Matt Ryan's his quarterback. And you know what's funny about that?
Wow.
That's fake true, though.
He calls Lamar Jackson no-arm Lamar. Lamar Jackson had the 3rd highest ADOT. You know where Matt Ryan was?
Don't tell me bottom 20.
He was the 6th lowest.
Really?
Wait, I don't understand what you're saying because
you call Lamar no-arm Lamar. That means he doesn't have an arm.
Didn't I just say last episode he had his best passing season?
He did say that. But you did also call him
no-arm
Lamar.
I said you could take it back, and you did not take it back.
No-arm Lamar's nuts.
It's a funny nickname.
It's rude.
But
It's not funny. It's mean.
No, come on, make my day.
I am just kind of
Make my day.
shocked.
I'm not done with my
that
Kyle
you
Pitts,
use. I know, but I just think I'm shocked that you use Matt Ryan as a reason to prop up Mariota.
Well, he's gonna have more than 1 touchdown. You want to make that bet? Kyle Pitts over under 1 touchdown?
Oh, I understand
Julio
that.
his whole career? I'm just saying. I don't know why it happens.
You think
it does happen.
but you think that Matt Ryan had nothing to do with why he had 1,000 yards as a rookie?
Oh no, of course.
Why Cordell Patterson just had his best year of his entire career?
Cordell
That has
Patterson
to do
I
with
think
Arthur
that's
Smith.
That has
right?
to do with, it's a combination, but it's Matt Ryan at the end of the day. He's a great quarterback.
He's the 15th best quarterback in the league.
There's a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL. He's one of those great quarterbacks.
It was a funny stat when I was looking up some Kyle Pitts numbers. I was like, wow, Matt Ryan had the 6th lowest ADOT. I was like, I wonder who's the top 3. Oh, Lamar Jackson has the 3rd highest ADOT.
Yeah.
No arm Lamar. Who would have thought that? On 107 targets last year, Kyle Pitts only 3 drops, averaged 15.1 yards per catch, the highest among all tight ends in top 12 in the NFL. And one quote that I found, Roddy White was actually talking about it like maybe a couple weeks ago, a month ago.
Yeah.
Roddy White said, I play with Tony Gonzalez, who I consider the best I never play football. But this guy, being Kyle Pitts, has everything Tony has and more. I'm not calling him Tony Gonzalez yet, but I think he's going to put up a great statistical season. Very excited about Kyle Pitts' future. Number 2, Mark Andrews. Number 1, Travis Kelce.
I'm trying to see where you find this ADOT thing. Because I want to see who's in the bottom with Matt Ryan and who's at the top. Because I guarantee
at the
there
top,
are some...
At the top, Drew Lock, but he didn't really play the whole year. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Lamar, Hurts, Baker, Stafford, Jameis, Josh Allen, Kirk, Joe Burrow.
So that's telling me Hurts is better than Matt Ryan then. That's what you're telling me.
No, we're just looking at who throws the ball down the field because Lamar is no arm Lamar to you. So that means he can throw the ball down the field.
Well, we're
There's
on
no
Matt
way
Ryan
in
right
hell.
now, though.
Matt Ryan at the bottom.
So the Falcons weren't able to throw the ball down the field. They had one of the worst offensive lines.
They had one of the best downfield targets in Kyle Pitts, 54
They
yards.
don't have no time, though.
I'm gonna have to listen. That's so rich because listen, I say the same.
Tua.
Yeah,
I know. It's funny.
You're talking about ADOT,
which is why I want to defend him. Which is why I'm defending
Matt Ryan didn't
that.
have the opportunity to throw the ball down the field.
So
will
this is
defend
the
that.
bottom like 14
I
or so
never
guys.
seen somebody use Matt Ryan to prop up
I
Mariota.
threw
You
it in
talked
there.
about
I
Matt
threw it
Ryan in
there.
a bad way.
I just threw it in there. You're the one who pointed it out. The bottom like
so you
12.
you think that Kyle Pitts is going to have a better year with Marcus Mariota than he did with Matt Ryan?
I think he could easily put up 1,000 yards again. He's Drake. That's the only other
I think
person
he'll have
Drake
more
London.
touchdowns, but I don't know if he'll have the same amount of yardage.
How about this? Gabe Davis, Kyle Pitts. I'll take Kyle
on,
Pitts.
bro.
You take Gabe Davis.
I'm not every episode. We don't have to mention Gabe Davis.
No, I want to, bro. He's your guy going into next season.
We don't have to mention him every single episode. Why does every single bet have to involve Gabe Davis?
Do you not want to take the bet? You could win a lot of money, bro. Or
Dude,
whatever
for real,
we're
if
gonna
Gabe
do.
Davis is him,
I'll take the bet that Kyle Pitts doesn't have the same amount of yardage. I think he has less with Mariota.
What do you have? 1073,
1,026.
26.
I'll take that. Because they have Drake London now too.
I want to take Kyle Pitts versus Gabe Davis yards.
I don't want to involve Gabe Davis in his bet.
Terrified.
You said that Gabe Davis could have 1,200 yards, bro.
No way.
I'm
Kyle
not
Pitts does
going
that.
to involve Gabe Davis in every bet I make with you.
Okay,
Are you
just
not
no.
comfortable with just taking a Kyle Pitts straight up bet?
I'll take over 1,000 yards.
No.
1,026, whatever.
More with because you just used Matt Ryan in a negative light to
Dude,
prop up Mariota.
What's 26 yards? You know what I mean? Like he's saying over 1,000.
We did over under 1,000 for Gabe Davis. Let's do over under 1,000 for Kyle
No,
Pitts.
because maybe I think Kyle Pitts can maybe get 1,000.
Okay,
I think Kyle Pitts is elite.
Do you want to hear these bottom guys in ADOT?
Sure.
You asked for it. If you don't want it, I don't have to say
No,
it.
you can say it.
Okay, cool,
It's
cool.
fine with
This
me.
is the bottom. This is the bottom like 12 or so guys. We have Jimmy G, Tannehill, Mahomes, Davis Mills, Darnold, Daniel Jones, Matt Ryan, Tua, Ben, Andy Dalton, Jared Goff.
Damn, so you named me about you named Mahomes for one.
I named Mahomes and terrible quarterbacks.
Ryan
Tua's
Tannehill's not
solid.
terrible.
Tua's solid. Yeah,
Tannehill's not terrible.
Tannehill
He's
and
a good
Tua are
quarterback.
solid, but there's Ben Roethlisberger's, there's Sam Darnold's, Daniel Jones.
ADOT's
Matt Ryan's.
average depth target, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean Tannehill was put in a situation where he had to get the
He
ball
has
out quickly.
He has a 30. Ryan Tannehill had the 31st worst offensive
it was horrible.
pass blocking
Correct.
efficiency
They were
rating.
horrible. Tua, same thing. Mahomes, I'm shocked about, but yes, they had to change their scheme
Their
a little
offense
bit.
was different.
Yeah. Who else did you name on there?
Ben, obviously.
Mac Jones was there as well.
Mac
It's
Jones
crazy
was not.
how
Jimmy
Matt
G,
Ryan.
Tannehill.
It's crazy how Matt Ryan has nothing around him and he gets penalized for it. No, but look, we don't have to take the bet if you don't want to, bro.
What's the?
Dude,
I said
it's
that's
26
1,000.
yards, 1,026.
Yeah, I said under what he.
Well, you
he
made
won't
me
get the same
you
amount
made
of
me
yards.
change my bet because I wanted Gabe Davis versus Kyle Pitts. So now you have to work with me.
I just want to do the straight Kyle Pitts bet.
I'll
Why
take-
did we have
I'll
to?
take it
Where
that
did
is-
Gabe
no, he's
Davis
saying-
come from?
no,
because
that's-
I'm
it's
the
fair.
one who
Listen,
said
can
let's
I-
do Kyle Pitts versus Gabe Davis yards.
Can I be
Why am I
mediator
doing
right now? Listen, Kyle Pitts over under 1,000 yards. I'll give you 1,001 yards. Does that make you feel better?
No, I just want to take it's a simple thing though. Like
It was a very simple thing. Kyle Pitts versus Gabe Davis receiving yards.
But
and you
I
seem
don't.
terrified.
Where did Gabe Davis come from though?
Dude, I mean, just
Because he's your. Is he not your guy?
I haven't
bro?
even talked. I didn't even say his name once.
I didn't hear him.
He's your guy. That's why.
He's my
I think-
guy, but we
bro,
already
every
have
time-
a Gabe Davis.
Every time I see you, I just think Gabriel Davis. Now it's impossible not
But
to look
we-
at you.
we
and not
already
think
have
Gabe
a
did
Gabe
Davis.
say
Davis
that
bet.
Gabe Davis was going to go for 1,200, or
I
had the
said
possibility to, I should say.
Look, there is a possibility for that. There's a world where a lot of things.
So
can
then,
happen.
I mean, you're
Did
saying
you
that
see-
you're saying that Pitts won't have 1,026.
Look, I'm gonna
Gabe
show you.
Davis could
I'm
have
gonna show you something
1,200.
right now.
I understand this bet that he's trying to make.
I
Is
know
all I'm
what
saying.
he's saying, but I don't want to involve Gabe Davis and everything. I don't think that.
So you're not trying to put all your chips into Gabriel Davis's basket.
It's not that I'm trying to put all my chips in it. It's just that I don't think it's necessary for when we're talking about Kyle Pitts, because this turned into this was a Matt Ryan versus Marcus Mariota thing, and now you just threw Gabe Davis into
Because
level.
ultimately,
I just wanted to see where
ultimately
your
the
head
topic
was
is
at,
supposed to
bro.
be Pitts. No, it wasn't supposed to be Matt Ryan versus Mariota.
If I don't ask, I will never know the
we're
answer.
talking about tight ends here, bro.
No, yes, he used Matt Ryan in a negative light to
I'll be
prop up
honest.
Mariota.
I'll be honest.
because you said
Matt Ryan. This had nothing to do with Matt Ryan.
you
I was
said
just-
Kyle Pitts is
I
going to
was
definitely have
just-
more touchdowns.
I think
and you
he will.
said that in
He
a
had
negative way
one-
towards Matt Ryan.
I mean,
should be. He had
Julio
one
has only
touchdown.
had double-digit touchdowns once in his career, and
I
it was
know,
in
but
2012.
but what I'm saying is that
That's a decade ago.
it's just take the deal. You know,
I'll take over
Is he
1,000.
is he gonna have more yards?
Sure, I'll
than
take
he
over
did?
1,026. Are you happy, bro? I'll
Yes.
take over
That's-
1,026.
Okay, this
I'm not
year,
gonna lie, bro. It's 26 yards. It really is not a difference.
that's a big difference.
Is
to be
it?
honest. Yes, it is.
Bro, it's gonna be a force feed into Kyle Pitts. You understand
Not
that?
Drake London is there.
I mean,
On the tape.
Kyle Pitts is
Geronimo Allison.
Kyle Pitts is
Their
proven.
receiving core is much better this year,
Oh, for sure. But
So-
That
at the
is Drake
same
London.
time,
That's it.
but they also have much more depth at the position.
They lost Russell
They
Gage.
lost
They
Russell,
lost
yeah.
Kyle. I mean, Kyle really
I know.
wasn't there
I know
basically
they
all
lost
year.
Russell Gage, but you
Russell
brought
Gage
in.
is significantly better than Geronimo Allison.
I'm
He
not
is.
saying he's not. I
And
know he
Auden
is.
Tate.
I know he's better than him. But they brought in guys like Brian Edwards, like Geronimo Allison.
Bro.
They have more
Bro,
depth at the position.
You're talking about wide receiver fives and special teams guys.
Well, isn't that what you used to say the Broncos were top five?
KJ Hamler
That
and
is-
Geronimo
does that
Allison?
not matter now?
KJ
not
Hamler would be a
same
wide receiver
sense.
2 on the Falcons.
He literally would be the wide receiver 2.
But I'm saying the Falcons last year, you got to the third Falcons receiver, and you said,
Game
"Who's
over.
that?" This year, you get to
you
like
get to
the
wide
fifth
receiver
one, and you're
2.
like,
You get to Geronimo Allison or Brian Edwards.
Bro, they're
you know
mid.
who they are, though.
Barely.
But-
We do,
We
but
know
the casual fan
exactly,
does not
bro.
know Geronimo
But
Allison.
you
promise you, I
know
can
them
go-
more than Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus could be the wide receiver 2.
Listen, my dad knows football. I promise you, he doesn't know who Geronimo Allison is.
This is what Emmanuel Sanders said about Gabe Davis last year. I mean, actually, this past offseason. He just said it recently. I feel like he's going to have a breakout year. He's a Pro Bowl caliber player. I've been around a lot of good receivers: Antonio Brown, Demaryius Thomas,
sounds so
Michael
scared.
Thomas. This guy is different.
So then
and
take
he's
the
going
deal
to
with-
be a
Because Rodney
difference
White
maker
said the
for
same
them.
thing about Kyle Pitts, said he has everything Tony Gonzalez has and more.
I believe him. Why don't you believe Emmanuel Sanders though?
I am, because I'm propping Gabe Davis up to Kyle Pitts,
which
what
is
I'm
nuts.
doing right now.
Which is nuts.
So you're doing that right now, but you're doing that to troll me though.
You legit. Do you think there's a chance Gabe Davis has more yards than Kyle Pitts?
you just said that.
It's a possibility.
I mean, we
And
already.
Gabe
This
Davis
is the thing, bro.
is-
This is already the thing.
Gabe Davis
he has
is that
over
man.
1,000. He has over 1,000 for Gabe Davis and under 1,000 for Kyle Pitts, which means you should just take the Kyle Pitts versus Gabe
That's
Davis bet
exactly
straight
what
up.
I was saying. Which is
But
exactly
it's
what I
cool.
was
We
saying.
don't have to. I don't want to force you into doing anything you're not comfortable with.
don't want to be Deshaun Watson. So.
Oh my
Jesus.
Lord, have mercy.
Too soon.
Distasteful.
Thoughts on the Aaron Donald record-setting contract? Now, my question for you guys: we came into this show with this topic, but Cooper Kupp just got paid 3 years, $80 million, $26.6 million a year. Aaron Donald got paid 3 years, $95 million. Now, the Rams have 3 players set to make $25 million per year on their current contract. That's the most such players in the NFL. The Browns and the Raiders are the only other teams with 2 such players, and 12 teams have 0 such players. Atlanta, Baltimore, Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, Houston, Jacksonville, New England, New Orleans, New York Giants, the New York Jets, and Seattle. Are the Rams proving right now that the cap space doesn't exist? It feels like they're the latest example that cap space is just a myth. They're giving everybody a big-time deal.
I feel like the Saints were the first ones to really expose the fact that cap is really a myth. However, you look at the Rams and the fact that they're able to sign all these guys to ridiculously high contracts Of course, you're gonna, if you're a regular fan and looking at Aaron Donald getting $35 million, you have Cooper Kupp getting $25 million a season. Stafford's gonna have over exactly. Jalen Ramsey's the second highest paid corner in the NFL. You're gonna look at this team and you're gonna automatically think, how is it possible that they could afford all these superstars? It gets to a point where these guys are so smart in the front office. They know how to manipulate contracts. They know how to deal with giving signing bonuses where it doesn't necessarily go all towards the cap. 100%. It's looking like, what's the point of a cap? If you're gonna enforce a salary cap, actually make it a thing where teams cannot afford to sign players. The fact that they were able to go out and get Allen Robinson also as well to add to this team that's already putting expenses into so many different avenues. Yes, it's very peculiar that they're able to afford this many contracts under one team. But to speak about Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp, 100%, I'm happy for these guys. Cooper Kupp put up the greatest wide receiver season we'll ever see in our lifetimes, truthfully. To lead the league in all three categories, receptions, yards, touchdowns, to go into the playoffs and be dominant basically every single game, go into the Super Bowl, be the Super Bowl MVP. He deserved more than $25 million, but he understands that he had to take a little bit. He said it, listen, I'm just here to ball. I want to win first. I don't need the contract. If it's there, I'll be happy to sign it, but I don't necessarily need it. Him taking 25 was a favor to the Rams. He could have asked for more if he wanted to. Aaron Donald, he needed to be the highest non-quarterback in the NFL. This is arguably the best defensive player in the history of the game. 8-time Pro Bowler, 7-time All-Pro, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame, All-2010s team, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. This guy has accomplished everything that there is to accomplish in the National Football League at the defensive tackle position. He's deserving of all this money. And if he wanted $40 million, he deserves $40 million. He really deserved anything that he wanted, but it was long overdue. This guy deserves to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, and it's about time.
Yeah, dude's a beast. In terms of like the whole cap situation or salary cap isn't real. I feel like the issue or the reason the Rams to get by it is for the current year, you obviously have to be, below the salary cap, right? You have to have some sort of money, whatever. It could be as little as like $500,000 if you want to sign a vet minimum contract. But you can go over the cap for future years, which is what the Rams are probably planning on doing. They still are projected to have money next season. But if you look at a team like the Packers, they have a projected $8 million cap space this year. Next year, they're projected to be $14 million over, which is why they're able to give out all of these contracts because they're able to convert the salary to signing bonus or whatever it might be this season to free up the cap space and push it down the road. You can basically keep pushing down the road, which is how the Saints were, $90 million over this season, because year after year when they had those Drew Brees years and the Michael Thomas contract and all of these studs where they were constantly paying, they were just pushing it down the road. And that's the reason why I think a lot of people get confused where the salary cap isn't fake, especially in the NFL where it's a hard cap, right? It's not like the NBA where there's a salary cap, it's a soft cap. You could be over the cap because of bird rights, right? If you have a player on your team for X amount of years, you could go over the salary cap to retain that player. You can't do that in the NFL. If you have $0, you can't go out and re-sign Patrick Mahomes just because he's been on your team for 3 or 4 years. You have to free up money by signing bonuses, trading players, whatever it might be. So the whole salary cap situation, that's why people get confused, just because you're able to push it down the road and do things that you really don't do in other sports. In terms of Aaron Donald, I mean, he deserves every penny. We talked about last episode. He's the best defensive player of our lifetime. I compared him to DeMarcus Lawrence. Remember that? No, Lawrence Taylor. Aaron Donald deserved every penny. I really do think the Rams need him to go on this Super Bowl, want to go on and repeat for the Super Bowl. While he doesn't touch the ball every play like Matt Stafford, and he's probably the second most important player on this team, you still need him because you need to get to that absolute peak of the peak to get to the Super Bowl. You have to stay healthy. You have to have the best players on your team. Aaron Donald, the best player on this Rams team, the best player I've seen in my lifetime. He's really the only position in the entire NFL where it's no debate, right? I know Cam Hayward came out and said it's Aaron Donald and Cam Hayward, then everyone else. No disrespect to Cam Hayward. Aaron Donald's in a tier of his own. We can make the argument Josh Allen, Mahomes, is it Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson, like almost through every position in the NFL. Aaron Donald's the one guy, the one position where it's just him. There's nobody in his own tier. You're looking at me funny.
Jalen?
That's fair. Yeah, Jalen's probably the clear-cut number one, but
I agree. I
would say the gap between Cam Hayward and Aaron Donald is a lot larger than Jalen and Jair.
And I'm nitpicking also. I'm trying to think. But
exactly. But you go through the rest, it's like you can make an argument for just about every position. Maybe TJ Watt, but Myles Garrett's right there. This going up this past season is TJ.
And really reaching left tackle, I'm taking Trent Williams over every single person.
You are.
But 100%, it's Aaron Donald.
And there's a huge gap.
Ton of notches.
Huge gap.
Chris Jones, Cam Hayward, I'm fine with either one.
Quinn Williams, facts.
PFF Joel, nice job explaining that. Yeah, I like that explanation a lot.
Jeffrey Simmons is another one.
He is really good.
He's amazing.
I love me some Jeffrey Simmons. Aaron Donald, first non-quarterback to now eclipse $30 million a season. You know, big testament to him and his hard work.
30. Didn't Tyreek get 30?
I think he might have got 29. I'm not sure. It's one of those. But in my notes and what I got from ESPN directly was that he's the first non-quarterback to eclipse 30 million per season. But Sean McVay thought this was going to happen. Aaron Donald attended his wedding this past Saturday, and they thought negotiations were in a good place. He's getting $65 million guaranteed for the first 2 seasons. He can retire or return in the 2024 season. He has that option, and his contract includes a no-trade clause. So it's not like the Rams are going to think about trading him anyway, but he just has that added sense of security. Aaron Donald, he's one of 3 defensive players since 1970 to earn a Pro Bowl selection in each of their first 8 NFL seasons. He joins Lawrence Taylor and Derek Thomas. Taylor had 10. Thomas had 9. Donald has 8. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. He sealed the Super Bowl versus the Bengals when he sacked Joe Burrow. But now Joe Burrow has an improved offensive line, so you better make sure that same thing happens. He's going to be able to get that to Jamar Chase.
No one's stopping Aaron Donald.
Tyreek has 30 flat. Aaron Donald's at 31.
Okay,
These quarterbacks get paid so much.
So maybe
bro.
eclipsing 30 plus million.
It might be Tyreek gets 30 next year because you got an extension. Maybe that's
It's the average annual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this past year was the best thing about Aaron Donald was that this past year, regular season, including playoffs, he had 16 sacks. He's by far the most double-team player in the NFL. It's not even close. You look at the charts, and it goes by double teams. Aaron Donald is in a tier of his own, and it's not even really double teams. It's like triple teams. Yeah. It's anything to stop this guy from wreaking havoc because he's just that good. He has 6 seasons with at least 10 sacks, the second most by a primary interior defensive lineman since sacks became a thing in 1982, trailing only John Randall. So Aaron Donald is in a league of his own. When talking about Cooper Kupp, I think his story's been amazing. A 0-star recruit to now being paid $25 million plus in the NFL. Like, Cooper Kupp didn't come into the NFL as an elite wide receiver. He's been steadily developing every year, and now I don't think anybody expected this type of season from Cooper Kupp, where he holds the single best receiving season in NFL history. I think this was a great thing for the Rams to get done. And although you talk about the restructures, the contracts, the signing bonuses, the Saints have been pushing that back for years on end now, and it hasn't caught up with them yet. The Rams are going to be able to do the same thing. And while the cap is definitely there and it's real, there are so many ways to get around that, to keep your players. It just really depends on the type of owner that you have. Is your owner willing to now pay that credit card bill once it's due? And some owners want to win badly. The Rams are showing that right now. Some other owners don't want to, and they don't sign these great players to extensions, and they let them walk, and they let them test free agency, or they trade them because of that reason. But I think the Rams are just showcasing that they want to win another one. They're going to have one of the better chances this year in the NFL. And I don't care as much as people say it, even though cap may be real. Today was a bad day for everybody that's a cap real enthusiast.
For sure.
Because to now have 3 players on the team making $25 million plus, and that's Matthew Stafford making $40 million.
What's Jalen making, 22?
He's probably making close to that, but you got Stafford making $40 million, Donald $30 million, Cooper Kupp $26 million. You're now looking at $90 million between 3 players only.
Just signed,
and we're talking about
for 15. Bobby,
and we're talking about a team sport that features 52 people on a roster, 52 to 55. So they're definitely showing that there's so many ways to get around the cap.
And Jalen's at 20 flat, which is insane.
And I know you threw in that smile because the Broncos now have the richest owner in the NFL.
God bless him. God bless. Listen, Walton coming in to be the new owner of the Denver Broncos brings a smile to my face because now I have the richest owner in the NFL, which is
by far
significantly.
Do all Walmarts now have like a mandate that they have to sell Broncos gear?
Listen, I would hope that would be the case, given the fact that he he is now the owner of Denver Broncos.
Yeah,
Now
makes
I'm
sense.
going to be going to Walmart hopefully to get a couple steals, maybe get some nice Bronco gear. I already have some nice Bronco gear, but it's always nice to add to the collection. But you mentioned it with the Rams. Owners that are willing to pay that credit card bill have the richest owner now in the game. This guy's going to be more than willing to go over the cap and continue to push back, especially now that Russell Wilson's at the helm, which is probably, we spoke about it a little bit before we got here, probably the reason why the value of the franchise was increased tremendously.
He must have, like, if you have Drew Lock, like, it's probably not a huge difference, but, like, Russ has to be, like, maybe it's $4 billion instead of $4.5 billion. Like, you win a Super Bowl, your valuation of the team goes way up.
And so for Rob to come in and take over this organization, it is very exciting to me as a fan of the Denver Broncos because I already see the foundation that we have, and it's already
the foundation.
It's 100%. But now you bring in Russ, you bring in a new head coach. Now we have the GM in George Patton, Nathaniel Hackenson at the head coach, and now we have a new owner that's the richest owner in the game. Of course, I'm going to be thinking that we're going to go in and sign players and not think about contracts.
Is he the richest in American sports? Because
No, I think it's still your boy.
Stephen Cohen?
Cohen's like $14 billion, bro.
Then he might be because I think he's what, 40 billion?
He's
70?
40.
Is it 40?
I'm pretty sure Steve Cohen is like 14 billion.
And Peyton Manning actually might be a minority owner
saw
as
that.
well, which gets me going.
Steve Cohen, 12 billion. So yeah, I mean he shits on Steve Cohen. Like,
and we saw the Panthers get sold for what, 2.5, something like that.
And just 4 or 5 years ago, yeah. I think
even if
And we're a historic franchise also.
you are.
Even if it wasn't solely the Russell Wilson thing, you're right. Like, the Broncos are a historic franchise that have a lot of rich history. They have won in almost every era outside of the 2000s. 2010s, though, you win one with Peyton Manning. You've been there 2 times. 1990s, you won with John Elway.
We won in 98, and he's went into the sunset.
Yeah, so the Broncos have won championships, so that's a storied franchise in itself.
And I was listening to PFF's podcast a couple weeks ago. I forgot who was on the show, but
Joe?
No, it wasn't me. I forgot who. It might have been Rick Spielman. I'm not sure though.
Rick
But
Spielman has a nice TikTok.
He does.
You watch
I
his
follow him.
TikTok?
Yeah, he has a great TikTok. I don't think it was him though, but regardless, they were talking just about like different owners and how the contracts differ, even though all of these guys are worth billions of dollars. And one thing I didn't know, when you sign these guaranteed contracts, like for example, Deshaun got $230 million guaranteed. The money's basically held in escrow. So like when you're giving out these huge contracts, these owners have to put that $200 million and put it in escrow right away, which is why we see some owners aren't willing to give out those guaranteed contracts. Because if you give out a 4-year, $100 million contract with $25 million guaranteed, you're basically saying, all right, I'm giving you 1 year's worth of money. The $75 million for the next 3 years, we'll give it to you when the time comes. But when you have these rich owners, like if you're worth $40 billion, giving out a contract that's worth 60 billion. God damn. When you're willing to give out contracts with all these guaranteed money, hundreds of millions of dollars, it's a lot easier for owners who are worth this amount of money.
Yeah, that's why the Broncos, like, this year is not going to be their year. But now that they have their owner that's willing to spend more,
what are the Broncos?
I think in years, in future years,
The only thing I'm worried about the Broncos is outside of Russ, I don't know where they're elite at.
Rushing.
That's why
rushing the ball. We're an elite rushing offense for sure. We're one of the best rush offenses last season.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. I just feel like I still think there are 4 or 5 teams in the AFC better than you.
But again, what are we missing? Only thing that
You're
I can
missing
come in
star power.
linebacker. No.
That's the only area of concern. Well, yes, Javonte, Melvin Gordon's a great duo. Russ, obviously amazing. But
I wouldn't call Javonte a
Justin
star.
Simmons
is a superstar.
I know, but I know.
Javonte is a superstar in the making.
I don't know.
Jerry Jeudy's
We'll
a
see.
superstar in the making.
I've actually come around. I think Javonte's really good, but he looks like that running back that might be one of those. He's not a
I'm
workhorse.
so happy you're saying this.
He's not a workhorse. He's more of a complimentary
I'm
back.
with you, bro. Yeah, definitely.
You think that with Melvin Gordon in that backfield, they're not going to split carry somewhat?
Of course they're gonna, but at the same time, I understand that Javonte is significantly better.
He's better, but
Significantly.
he's probably better in spurts. Like, I think he tires out.
So we saw the
since
one
college,
game.
Since college, he's always been in a
Just
committee.
to debunk you really fast, the one game that he was the main workhorse, he had the best game of the season by far.
Well, that's
and was
one
able
game.
to do it.
Dearness
And
Johnson had that
he was
too.
able to do it both in the pass and the run. But even on top of that, if you want to say that, Dearness Johnson, but we saw a whole season of Javonte Williams be a freak of nature.
Yeah,
Regardless
but
of
I'm
whether
saying
it's
I don't
split or
know
not.
if there's going to be a season where Javonte cracks over like 300-something carries.
I mean, it could be next season if Melvin's not on the team.
He had 209
Melvin's
last
going to
year.
be on the team, though.
Melvin resigned.
I'm saying next.
Oh,
excuse me,
24?
yes.
Or 23.
Yeah, but we'll see. How long did Didn't Melvin resign for a while though?
It was 1 year.
I think it was a 1 year.
One year, like $5 million.
Oh, that's
When he
good.
first came to the Broncos, it was a 2-year, 14.
Javante's always played in the committee though. In
But
college, it was with Mike Carter.
He had another running NFL caliber guy with him too.
Yeah, but still,
He was a lot better than Mike Carter.
Not a lot better.
I mean, Javonte was taking the top of the second. Mike Carter was taking the top of the fourth. He was.
Mike Carter has
there
the
was a
size
gap.
issues.
He was the
There's a gap.
second pick in the second round.
Yeah, I believe like same spot we took Brees.
We traded up to get him.
Yeah, I just
Thank
look. I
God.
don't think the Broncos have much star power outside of Russ and Justin Simmons and Pat Surtain. I think.
So
You know, that's
three players.
But you have to have
and
a
Jerry
leader-
Jeudy.
But you have to have elite of the elite.
Not necessarily.
It like the Bills have the elite of the elite at almost every single position.
I think you're just missing an elite edge rusher.
Oh,
I'd be so
I
much
could
more
not agree with.
comfortable.
Like I
If
like
you
Justin
agree with that.
Oh,
Simmons.
excuse me.
I like
I
Justin
agree.
Simmons a lot. What's the gap between him and Micah Hyde? It's really not a gap.
Micah Hyde's still a great safety in the league.
No,
Micah
no,
Hyde's
he's
what,
but
top
and
five,
Bills
7?
have Micah and Jordan Poyer. They have Trey White.
Good for them.
They have
And Kyrie.
Matt Milano.
And
they
they show
have
they can still be
Von
beat.
Miller. They have Josh Allen. They have Stephon Diggs. Like there's a lot of
James
really
Cook.
great guys.
In the making as well.
That's why I feel like that's a Broncos miss. I just don't think this year's a Broncos year. I could be wrong,
all right.
but this year is not the year for the Broncos at least.
Maybe.
Yeah, I just don't think 3 years in a row it happens where quarterbacks changing teams win the Super Bowls.
Third time's a charm, kid.
That's a very good saying.
Just
Doesn't
saying.
mean it's always right. Going on to this Deshaun Watson thing, now time to get a little bit serious about this because there's a New York Times article that came out that pertains to Deshaun Watson and his actions that we know with masseuses. So it's 66 women that we now know of that had some type of relation with Deshaun Watson when it comes to massage therapy. 24 of them sued. One said that he masturbated during the massage. 15 supported Watson at the request of his lawyers. 2 filed criminal complaints but didn't sue. 4 were from a spa called Genuine Touch, a massage therapy group contracted by the Texans. 5 women identified by plaintiffs' lawyers. 15 whose appointments were confirmed. And 1 woman who sued then withdrew the complaint due to privacy and safety issues. So in this New York Times article, they reveal Instagram DMs. They reveal some transcripts from Deshaun Watson's interviews with the police from his depositions. And it just was a very alarming thing. He booked 66 appointments in 17 months from the fall of 2019 to the spring of 2021. So what are just your reactions to this article and it coming out? Because now it's getting even more tougher for anybody to even vouch for Deshaun.
For sure.
It was hard enough for anybody to vouch for him, and I think anybody that can put 2 and 2 together knows that when it's this much women, Deshaun Watson most likely or not did something wrong. But now that this article came out and we're talking about 66, which is more than the original 24 that filed something.
23 is recently that.
Yeah.
Why
So
it concerns them.
this is a big time deal, and
really
now it's just putting even more pressure on the NFL to now do something about it and to hand down Deshaun Watson to suspension because that is yet to happen. And he's participating in OTAs. He's with the Browns throwing interceptions, not being very good. So what are just your thoughts on this? Because this is a big deal. And the fact that the New York Times wrote an article, like this wasn't Bleacher Report, The Athletic. This was the New York Times that shed light on this situation. That's a big deal.
And the New York Times is one of like the few newspapers the NFL takes very seriously, right? There's some newspapers out there that I know, I don't want to say overlook, but New York Times is definitely one of the couple that are like top of the list for New York. It's a hard case because normally in any of these situations, we just want the legal proceedings to go on. We don't want to, prove prematurely if a guy is guilty or innocent, but he's already gone before a grand jury and there's not enough there to charge him. The difference between, I had to Google it, between a grand jury and a trial jury is the grand jury decided someone should be charged. The trial jury is once you go to trial, they decide if you've been convicted. So this grand jury, which is all done in privacy and in secret, so they don't really have to give an explanation as to why he should or should not be charged. But they already came out and said that he shouldn't be charged with any criminal offense. So that's the first step where normally I would say, all right, let's just let this play out. And then from there, we could say one way or another. But it's already been decided that he's not going to be charged criminally. It's hard for me, though, with 66 masseuses over 17 months. I mean, most athletes, I'm assuming, you're probably going to only have a couple over your career, right? You're going to find a handful that you trust, who know your body, know what, you've dealt with injury-wise over your career. But 66 masseuses over 17 months, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I think there's plenty of evidence here to convict, or not convict, but to at least assume that there was some wrongdoing going on, right? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that we have 24 women now, 2 within the last week, all have very similar stories about what went on during these massages. And Deshaun, who has all of the assets in the world and all of, he had the Texans who were a part of it as well, had all these different ways to go in terms of getting a masseuse, a qualified one, to work specifically on his body. But he went out and wanted different women every month, wanted to try different people in different places. There was, like you mentioned, 24 suing him. There's also 2 other women who filed criminal complaints but aren't suing. 1 woman who withdrew her complaint because of privacy concerns. And there is 15 therapists who, at the request from Deshaun's lawyers, came out and supported Deshaun and said that there was no wrongdoing. But still, 15 therapists compared to 24 plus that are suing him or have sued him in the past. It's a hard decision for the NFL. I think he should get suspended for at least a year. It wouldn't surprise me if they came out and says he's going to be indefinitely suspended and he could, come back in a year and try to fight that case, because the NFL, first of all, they screwed up bad with Calvin Ridley. He shouldn't have been suspended for a full season. If you do anything less for a year, it's an even worse PR look, because you're taking these 60 plus women he's had massages with and 20 plus women who are suing him and saying this isn't as important or as severe as Calvin Ridley bidding $1,500 on his own team. So the baseline for me is 1 season. And the NFL has to make a stand, right? They've done a good job in terms of inclusion. We have more, women in front office, refereeing, coaching staffs. And they've doing a good job, putting this together and making them feel included in the league. But the one area they've lacked forever is in terms of these domestic violence, sexual assault, sexual harassment type issues. They've dropped the ball a ton over the past few years. They have a chance now, while Deshaun Watson is an incredible player, they have a chance to prove something to the league, to the media, to regular people who don't follow the NFL as closely as we do. The things you're going to see on like ABC and Fox and CBS, right? You're just watching the morning news. They have a chance to put a real statement out there saying this isn't going to be tolerated in our league. If it's anything less than a year, everyone's going to point that Calvin Ridley suspension and say, oh, well, Deshaun gets, for example, 10 games, but Calvin Ridley gets the entire year because he just bet on a game. So to me, the baseline is 1 season, but it wouldn't surprise me if it comes out and saying he's indefinitely suspended. I don't know how the contract would work at that point, what money they get back. The draft picks are gone regardless. It's a tough decision for the NFL, but for me, it starts at 1 season.
The Calvin Ridley situation really quick. The reason why the year at the time before Deshaun Watson news broke, why it was all right to a degree, is that you have guys like Pete Rose that are banned from making the Hall of Fame because he used to bet on games. Jordan, the rumor was that he got suspended for the year because he was gambling on games. So you're caught gambling on games, you're automatically going to get a hefty suspension. But you're 100% right in everything you just said. Now that you have a guy like Calvin Ridley who's suspended for a full season that's doing something significantly not as bad as what Deshaun's alleged to have done, of course, there should be stronger. There should be stronger consequence for Deshaun Watson and his actions. Where it gets me to the point where we could see a possibility where Deshaun's the first player in NFL history that's suspended for 2 seasons. You mentioned an indefinite suspension. It would not surprise me if Deshaun was indefinitely suspended as well. It's getting to a point where 66 women in 17 months is just incredibly hard to defend if you're Deshaun Watson's lawyers. How you can have the text messages, the Instagram DMs, you have the 15 women coming to Deshaun Watson's defense, but end of the day, 24 women, is incredibly hard to overlook. You're gonna have those people that especially now with the whole Amber Heard situation, where there was this woman where, unfortunately for many women who are actually facing real domestic violence issues, you have a woman like Amber Heard who is so well known in the celebrity scene, and she's out here throwing dirt on Johnny Depp's name falsely. Now you have the Me Too movement being put, or let me not say put to a halt, but there's now some strong pushback where now people aren't automatically going to side with these women, even though it's already courageous enough for them to come out and outwardly speak on these hardships that they have experienced. It's a tough situation for the people that are coming forward, then you have to give them nothing but endless credit. But it's an ugly situation, and I would love for it to be handled as soon as quickly, just so we're not here speculating anymore. The one thing I'll stand strong, the Deshaun's only right is that he's innocent until proven guilty, but it's getting to a point where it's hard to say he's innocent at this point.
Unfortunately, though, we're not going to see a trial.
No,
right?
But
not that I want to see a trial, but
course.
like it's the innocent until proven guilty. It's like technically,
You're right. That's very
in the eye of
true,
the
man.
law, he's looked at as innocent.
You mentioned the Amber Heard thing. I think that was a good example of just talking about women coming out and how Amber Heard, her abuse towards Johnny Depp, it got swept under the rug because most of the time it is man abusing woman, not woman abusing man. But I think that Johnny Depp trial really opened up everybody's eyes that men do go through these things. That being said, that's not the topic at hand, and this is about Deshaun Watson and his abuse towards women. I was shocked by this. I was shocked that the Texans provided venues for Deshaun Watson to use.
That's insane.
They rented out a hotel basically that had restaurants and fitness centers and
real quick,
hotel
and then
rooms for him to get
he
massages.
requests a trade, and suddenly this comes out, right?
Real quick, though, Deshaun has said that the Texans weren't aware about the massages at the hotel.
But then what's this information that we're receiving?
Well, they did set him up. He got massages done at the hotel, and the Texans did set him up at this hotel. But
they
Deshaun
were
has
unaware of
claimed-
the actions.
Deshaun has claimed that the Texans didn't know about the massages at the hotel, at least. Obviously,
So he's looking out for the Texans. Interesting.
I think it's not. I don't even think it's looking out for the Texans. I think it's looking out for himself because then it shows that he was complicit with the Texans in this entire thing. And what you're saying about how it comes out after Deshaun requests a trade. If Deshaun knew that the Texans were keeping this under wraps with him, it was kind of a dumb thing to request a trade in the first place.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Because now you have this whole thing blow up in your face.
Absolutely.
The Texans were complicit with Deshaun Watson. They provided him non-disclosure agreements. They provided him massage therapy groups to go to. And for the Texans to say that they learned about this, all these allegations in March of 2021 is just a bold-faced lie now because they were complicit with Deshaun throughout this entire process. And what also shocked me about this is that New You Spa, I think that's the company name. The owner of it, her name is Lewis, I believe. And 4 employees from that company filed suits, and Lewis, the owner, accommodated Watson, and employees said that she gave him special treatment. There was a quote in the New York Times article that said that she knows how to get men to pay. And it, to me, feels like she was using these women and she was pimping out these women basically for Deshaun Watson to now get these sexual acts done to him during these massage things. Then you have Rusty Hardin come out and say that happy endings are not completely out of the ordinary in massage therapy sessions. And it's just all of this is coming out and it's shocking because it just goes to show that when you are a person like Deshaun Watson that is a quarterback that has a lot of status and money, you get favorable treatment and you get to do a lot of fucked up shit that doesn't come to light, and people are complicit in helping you do it. The Texans being one of them. That woman Lewis from New You Spa, whose employees, like one employee, Lewis drove one of her employees to a hotel to meet Watson, where he touched her hand with his penis. So she is taking her employee, knowing Deshaun is going to do stuff to her, and she is fine with it because Deshaun is paying her money, a couple thousands of dollars for some products, and it just goes to show that when you have money, when you have power, you can get away with some of these things, and it's unfortunate. And Lewis also told an employee, Nia Smith, according to the article, that she needed to keep Deshaun Watson happy, which means that now you're talking about a boss coming from the top, applying pressure on employees to now feel comfortable with getting sexually harassed because this is a big-time athlete that you need to keep happy. And I think that's the most unfortunate thing about this entire story is that you have people that are powerless being taken advantage of by people in power. And to talk about Deshaun Watson and the punishment he should receive, listen, 66 women coming out in 17 months, Deshaun Watson should be banned from the NFL. In my lifetime of watching the NFL, we've seen Josh Gordon lose his career over marijuana. We've seen Calvin Ridley just get suspended a year for gambling on a game that he wasn't even a part of. We've seen Colin Kaepernick lose his career, be blackballed over social justice issues. The NFL, the Cleveland Browns, just gave Deshaun Watson a $230 million guaranteed deal. And that basically told me that signing a predator is less of a distraction than signing Colin Kaepernick to a backup quarterback role for any team. The NFL has dropped the ball so much on these issues that in order to even save face in this type of situation, a 1-year suspension is not enough, because you're now saying what Deshaun Watson did deserves the same amount of punishment as Josh Gordon smoking marijuana, as Calvin Ridley betting on games. I wouldn't be surprised, and frankly, I'd be an advocate for Deshaun to never play in the NFL again, and for the NFL to step in and say, you know what, Browns, you can't guarantee him that money anymore, and we're going to rescind that contract. I doubt it happens, but for Deshaun Watson to be receiving such a lucrative financial deal, despite the disgusting and heinous things that he's done, is just ridiculous. And it just goes to show how flawed the justice system is, one, and the NFL for how they handle these situations. I mean, I don't think this New York Times article had to come out in order for the NFL to step in and say, yeah, maybe a 1-year suspension is reasonable. Like, we knew this last year that these many women came out, and the NFL has done nothing and stayed silent throughout this entire process. A spokesperson for the Browns said the team had no immediate comment on the article, and the NFL spokesperson declined to comment. So not only is the NFL being silent about it, they are declining to even answer anything about it. And I think that's the most alarming thing. We've seen so many things happen in the NFL with other players getting into trouble for stuff that is not this heinous. And for Deshaun Watson to keep on going after this is just a horrible look, and I frankly think it shouldn't happen.
And two things. For one, the New York Times obviously did their homework, right? So you can't imagine this is the only article they're looking to publish, right? It wouldn't surprise me if they have many others ready to go and things that we don't know about that came out. And in terms of the money that was guaranteed from the Cleveland Browns, if Deshaun was dishonest to them, which, listen, at this, he seems like a very shady guy, so he very well could have been. These last two people who are suing him over these last few weeks, if he didn't tell the NFL or tell the Cleveland Browns, like, there's more women potentially suing, that's a way that the Browns, I think, could get out of the $230 million guaranteed. But if Deshaun was open and honest about it and told the Browns, which would blow my mind that the Browns would even still be okay with, like, regardless, going out and trading for Deshaun and making him the face of your franchise was an extremely questionable move, because you're putting, like you mentioned, a predator and saying, go and buy his jersey, root for this guy. Your kids are going to be looking at him play every single day. Your wives or whoever your significant other has to root with him, has to root for him with you.
And that's an excellent point. And we're not even talking about how the NFL has now tried to expand their game to cater to a younger audience, where we have Nickelodeon broadcasts. Yeah. So now the NFL is not only trying to appease its normal fan base, they're trying to capture the audience of young viewers as well. And putting Deshaun Watson at the center of that and saying, look, this is who your kid should root for, and it's just disgusting. And it's not just the Browns. Like, 13 other teams pursued Deshaun Watson. They wanted Deshaun Watson. So it's just not the Browns. We're talking about almost half of the NFL was actively trying to pursue Deshaun Watson to play for the football team. So it's just not the Browns. The Seahawks are one of those teams that pursued Deshaun, and they're also one of those teams that has declined to give Colin a contract, despite rumors circulating all the time about how that's potentially the best fit for him and the best place for him. So I think all this coming out at this time is just sad. And a quote that struck me the most in the article was that, one woman said that he was persistent in requests for sexual acts during the massage, and she told Deshaun, like, what's it like being famous? Like, what's going on? You're about to mess everything up. And that's exactly...
You think that'd be a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly what Deshaun has done. He's messed everything up for himself, and unfortunately, due to his status, he might get away with it. But he's come very close to messing everything up. And quite frankly,
it just shows we don't know anything about any of these athletes.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'm shocked.
Like, Deshaun, for whatever it's worth, coming out of the draft, his first couple of years in Houston, he was giving back to the community. He was donating, doing stuff for Boys and Girls Club, all that type of stuff that makes it look like he is this, outstanding citizen and really want to give back to his community. But then you go and you see this, and you're more or less throwing everything away. Not only like financially, but just like you can't do anything. You go out in public, like you cannot do anything. This is what you're known for now.
I mean, I'm shocked. Deshaun Watson, to me, I never thought he was this type of person. I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, no, you never.
He was
even
somebody
imagined
that in 2017 donated his game check to
the
entire staff for the Texans that make their meals and stuff. So for me, I thought Deshaun Watson this entire time was somebody who was good, and maybe, hey, I'm not totally chastising this guy because there's possibilities for some parts of your character to be good and some parts of your character to be bad.
This just can't be a bad character. Sure.
It's like Deshaun Watson.
This is one of the worst.
Like Deshaun Watson, has he been charitable? Yes. Has he done good? Yes. But what he's doing now just outweighs everything he's ever done. That it doesn't even matter, and that's a possibility. There are some, and it's possible with everybody, and it's a reality with everybody that everybody has good and bad sides to them. Mm-hmm. It's just about how ugly your bad side gets. And Deshaun Watson's, it's clear that it got to the point where he's on the edge of ruining his entire life.
Yeah, and it's a terrible. Like, I'm shocked the NFL hasn't come out and suspended him yet. The fact that he's at OTAs practicing, he had the press conference with Stefanski when he first got traded for, like, it's terrible. It's a terrible look for the NFL, which is why like an indefinite suspension being banned for life is in the cards, because they need to be like, okay, we've screwed up in the past. We screwed this up. Let's do anything we can to at least bring some sort of decent PR to us.
I was going to say, look at the MLB and Trevor Bauer and that whole situation where it was found that even Trevor Bauer, through it all, where yes, he had the physical interaction with the woman, MLB came and that was put to bed. Excuse me. MLB still came out and suspended him for 2 full seasons. He already missed basically the entire 2021 season. Now he's being suspended for the entire 2022 season and is going to be suspended again for the 2023 season. MLB realized their mistakes in the past where they let Aroldis Chapman get suspended for 30 games with a domestic violence issue. Domingo Germán, who smacked his whether it be his girlfriend, his significant other at the time, smacked her in front of a head office official of the MLB commissioner's office, and for him to only get I think 60 games, they had to come down and drop the hammer harshly on Trevor Bauer, and that's what they did. I'm expecting it to be the same in the NFL with Deshaun Watson.
So on to the next topic. PFF dropped their top 10 coaches list.
Another bad thing.
And their top, and it wasn't just PFF. I don't want to just single out their entire company. It was an employee, one guy from PFF, but it's labeled as PFF's list all around. And the top 10 coaches are 1, Bill Belichick, 2, John Harbaugh, 3, Andy Reid, 4, Cliff Kingsbury, 5, Pete Carroll, 6, Matt LaFleur, 7, Kyle Shanahan, 8, Mike Vrabel, 9, Frank Reich, and 10, Mike McCarthy. Now, we don't have to get too in-depth with this. I'll just give my thoughts on this first, and we can go and give our top 10 coaches along with your thoughts on the original list that they put out.
We're giving our own top 10?
Yeah.
Oh,
so for me,
I saw him put the list on Twitter. I was like, all right, let me put a top 10 list in case he has.
So for me, John Harbaugh to me at 2 is way too high. Cliff Kingsbury and Pete Carroll should not be in the top 10. And Mike McCarthy shouldn't be in the top 10 either. I think there's 3 coaches on there that shouldn't be in the top 10. And John Harbaugh at 2 is frankly way too high for me. I mean, John Harbaugh was somebody that was on the verge of getting fired before Lamar Jackson came and made the playoffs with them. So I think that he's way too high for me. Bill Belichick, out of respect, you still put him at 1 because with one of the better rosters, he can do arguably the best job of any coach in the NFL. But the Patriots just don't have the roster right now where he's going to get those results. But that's my thoughts on this list. I think this is a terrible list, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's it.
Yeah, I went through and read the article because I was very curious as to like how they came up with this.
It was due to like 4th down decisions, right? Decision making.
So they had this like very complex model that basically said if everyone has an average roster, who would be the best head coach, and they would take offensive points added versus defensive points allowed and say, like, if you're a great offensive coach, you had plus 50 points. If you're a great defensive coach, it's like negative 40 points, like basically you're saving 40
That's
points.
weird because John Harbaugh is special teams.
I know, which is very strange. So like I went through and
John Harbaugh is a great coach,
but
like,
he's a special
amazing.
teams
I understand,
coordinator.
but regardless, he's still an amazing
which
head
is
coach.
why I don't know exactly. They had this very complicated model with words that honestly were out of my dictionary. But regardless, a few that stuck out: Cliff Kingsbury being fourth, right? That shocked. I was like, Cliff being fourth, like he was borderline on the hot seat. He just got an extension. I understand that. And the reasoning for that was because outside of Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins, there hasn't been much offensive talent there, which was their reasoning, which I agree with. I'm not sure if that makes him the fourth best coach.
Since he's come into the position of the head coach of Arizona
They've
Cardinals,
gotten better.
only have gotten better, exceedingly better every single season.
Yep.
So listen.
Putting
he
more
should,
Kyle Shanahan is crazy.
egregious. No, his placement is strong. I like Cliff Kingsbury as much as the next person. Top
is
four
crazy.
is insane.
They had Sean McVay ranked 11th, and their explanation was, and I quote, "The data suggests that McVay lives up to his reputation as a fantastic offensive play caller, as he's overseen great offenses in his time as the Rams head coach. He would score 55 more points than the average coach." No real explanation other than he's a great offensive play caller. Somehow he's ranked 11th. And then Mike Tomlin being ranked 13th. Their explanation made more sense. They said, if this list was able to consider how a coach manages a team off the field, then Tomlin would be much higher on this list. The reason he's so low is a part of this went into like salary as well, like how you're paying different positions. And one of the reasons was Steelers have been paying Big Ben a pretty big contract. He signed a 2-year, $68 million extension in 2019, and they gave him far from elite production, right? He's getting paid like a top 5 quarterback, and he was playing like a bottom 5 quarterback basically over the last 2 years, which was the reason why Tomlin's ranking was so low. My top 10 coaches, number 10, I had Stefanski. The 1 year where he was able to have a healthy Baker Mayfield coach of the year. First time going to the playoff win. 9, Vrabel. 8, Harbaugh. 7, Tomlin, just because he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016.
Yep.
6, Matt LaFleur. 5, Shanahan. 4, McDermott. 3, Reed. 2, McVay. 1, Bill.
All right, you can give your list, Joel, because obviously.
So PFF released a top 10 coaches list, and which frankly wasn't that good. So we're gonna give our top 10. Maybe it's a bit better. We'll see. Number 10, Frank Reich, always in the hunt for the playoffs. I think he's one of the better offensive play callers. Number 9 might be a little low, but Matt LaFleur, most wins by a head coach in his first 3 seasons, 39-10 record. But the crux there is that he has Aaron Rodgers, and that's the big thing about it. Number 8, John Harbaugh. I think this is a perfect placement for him. I think before Lamar Jackson, he was on the hot seat. 7, Sean McDermott, always has an elite level defense. 6, Mike Vrabel, hasn't had a losing season yet. At least 9 wins every year and has only improved every single season. Number 5, Kyle Shanahan, proven to only really win with Jimmy Garoppolo, but 2 NFC Championship appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, one as a head coach and one as an OC, and he's frankly the best offensive play caller, in my opinion, in the NFL. Number 4, Andy Reid, blueprint for the modern NFL offense. Number 3, Mike Tomlin, never had a losing season, one of the best motivators in football. Number 2, Sean McVay, offensive mastermind. And number 1, Bill Belichick. The void of talent currently, but the resume speaks for itself, and he deserves the number 1 spot.
I'm shocked with McVay being number 2. McVay is a brilliant offensive mind, without a doubt.
I had McVay too as well.
Did you have McVay too? Wow. Maybe I was sleeping for that. I was making
2
my
Super
own list.
Bowls, just came off a win.
I don't disagree. He's a great coach. His play call at times is a little bit questionable, especially this playoff run. But listen, you can't take away from the fact that his resume, he's this young. He still has a Super Bowl underneath his belt. He's only going to get better. So I'm fine with it. I think that 2 is a little bit of a stretch, but hey, you hear my list. Maybe you'll have some gripes with it as well. Number 10, I actually have Cliff Kingsbury. I do appreciate the fact that since he's come into Arizona, they have been better each season than the last. Whether you want to credit that to Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Cliff Kingsbury is the one that lets that offense gel together and really get going. Got to give Cliff his credit there. Number 9, Sean McDermott, 100%.
Wow.
Is that too low or too high?
9 seems very low for McDermott. Where'd you have McDermott?
I had McDermott at 7.
Okay, I'm high. I had him at 4.
McDermott defensively has done an unbelievable job with that group of guys for sure, but it seems as if he's continuously coming up a bit short. This past season specifically, his defense was supposed to be the best of the best and still let the Chiefs pass all over them. Number 7, I have John Harbaugh. I feel like I was fine with them putting John Harbaugh relatively high. I mean, relatively, he's the number 2 head coach in the NFL, according to PFF. But I was fine with it because he has the history. He has the Super Bowl. He's been extremely consistent. And yes, you could say that he was on the hot seat before Lamar got there. But even still, Joe Flacco was more than serviceable with John Harbaugh as their head coach. And I feel like he deserves his respect there. Number 6, Mike Tomlin. For obvious reasons, this guy has been the epitome of consistency every single season. He has yet to go underneath 500, and that is just a true testament to how great he is. Number 5, I have Sean McVay. Yes, I just spoke about it. He is an unbelievable offensive mind, and he does everything he can to bring the most out of his offense. However, I do feel skeptical about his offensive play call at times. Number 4, Mike Vrabel. Now, this might be a little bit too high in some people's eyes, but Mike Vrabel might be the most underappreciated head coach in the NFL. What he's able to bring out of the talent that, in my opinion, is limited, and to be as successful as he was this past season with guys like Derrick Henry going down. You had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones in and out of the lineup. You had one of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League. To still be at the top of the AFC last year, Mike Vrabel deserves endless credit for that. Number 3, Andy Reid. Not much to say about it. Andy Reid is just a historically great coach. You mentioned it, the blueprint to the modern-day NFL offense. He has just been a model of consistency as well. Now he has the championship underneath his belt. There's nothing you could say about Andy Reid negative. Number 2, Kyle Shanahan. I think the way that you look at Kyle Shanahan is that he brings the most out of every single quarterback that he's ever been with. Now he's with Jimmy G. Now you're seeing Trey Lance. You're seeing the Trey Lance hype in the offseason where Trey Lance has just been developing at a tremendous pace. And I will give you credit. I'm in. I'm in.
Let's go.
I'm in. Trey Lance is going to be great, and it's going to be due to how great Kyle Shanahan is at defending the at developing the quarterback position. And number 1, without a doubt, Bill Belichick, the best head coach in NFL history, arguably the best head coach in the history of all sports. The resume speaks for itself.
So Sean McVay was 5 or 6 for you?
I had 5. He's 5. He's a top 5 coach at the minimum.
So Mike Vrabel is over Sean McVay?
Yes, believe it or not.
That's nuts.
I understand, especially for the fact that McVay has been to the Super Bowl twice now.
I say Vrabel just comes up a little short.
His team is not anywhere near the level of...
You're right, but it's also a mid-division.
I understand what you're saying. I'm fine with that. But Vrabel, in a short time as well, has been able to bring out the most out of that defense year in, year out.
McVay in the first year made the Super Bowl, though.
Was that his first year? Really? That's impressive. But again, his play call, was that his first year?
I think it was his first year.
Nah,
it wasn't
Jared.
It was not. I don't think so. At least, maybe.
It low-key might have been, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Because that was Goff's great year.
So 2016 Rams went 4-12. 2017 they went 11-5. And no, they lost in the wild card to the Falcons. So his second year, they made the Super Bowl.
Okay, listen, he's been great. But yes, there's been moments where I look at his offensive play
They had
call,
the first ranked offense in 2017.
Which is what, and that's when Todd Gurley was MVP, Jared Goff, which is what gets him paid over $30 million a season.
Had a great year too.
Yeah, absolutely. For him being the offensive guru that he is, there's been too many moments that stick out to me. Not too many, like, it's been a laundry list of them, but there's specific moments where I look at his play call and I really am thinking, why are you running that play in that situation?
People that are watching this podcast right now or listening to it don't understand how hot this room is, but I'm sweating right now.
Are you? I'm feeling good right now.
I'm actually sweating right now. My hair is damp.
I'm a little warm.
I'm warm.
You look a little red, actually.
I am?
Yeah. You all right, man?
I am.
Feeling under the weather?
I feel great, actually.
Thank God.
You know, I have a would you rather for this week.
Oh.
Hot.
Yeah, I have a would you rather, and I feel like it's gonna be very controversial because
every single one is
it's
honestly.
It's a player that both of you guys like. That some of the names that you're gonna probably put him over are names that are gonna receive a what the hell. So we're gonna get into it. This is
because we know ball.
This is would you rather.
Dude, I see your hands are sweaty.
My hands are as smooth as it gets.
This is would you rather Kyler Murray edition.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna
First
say yes.
name up: Dak Prescott,
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler.
So you're a Tua guy, so this not a debate for you.
It's Kyler Murray. I understand that Kyler
But
Murray's
you
in a
think
different
Tua's
class.
MVP candidate though?
And Kyler Murray is as well.
Okay, so Derek Carr,
Kyler
Kyler
Murray.
Murray.
Matthew Stafford,
Matthew Stafford.
Russell Wilson,
Russell Wilson.
Russ.
Trevor Lawrence. Moving forward,
Kyler.
not
Kyler Murray.
This is a
Stop
projection.
It. No,
Doesn't
this is
matter.
Kyler Murray.
Kyler
Murray.
has
So you don't
shown
think
he's
Trevor
proven.
Lawrence has any
Kyler
chance to
Murray.
be better than Kyler Murray long
Kyler
term?
Murray. Kyler Murray.
I'm not going off of just the 2022 season. I'm going off of going like next 3-4 years.
He's not going to be better
Lawrence
than
versus Kyler.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray has one of the best arms in the league.
Lamar Jackson.
Kyler Murray.
Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
Get ready. That's a minimum 1,800 comments. This guy doesn't know ball.
Talking to you.
So what's your reasoning behind Kyler over Lamar?
How many times do I have to say a thing like this? Because every single time we speak about Lamar and Kyler, I say the exact same thing. So here we go. For the 18th time, I believe Kyler Murray is a significantly better passer than Lamar Jackson. Rushing the football, without a doubt, Lamar is the best mobile quarterback in the National Football League. But at a close second is Kyler Murray. This guy, Kyler Murray, on top of being efficient with the ball, rushing with his rushing abilities and getting into the end zone and rushing for yards as well, he's one of the most pinpoint accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, which is why it's not a question for me going Kyler Murray.
And while I do agree that Kyler's a better thrower than Lamar Jackson, things I like more about Lamar are more intangible. Right, I think Lamar is one of the best leaders in the league.
Yeah, he's a better leader.
I think he genuinely you could see how upset he gets when he has a bad play, and he's improved every single year as a passer. I think that continues because he cares. He puts in the work in the offseason. He's there working out with Rashad Bateman. I've seen and Antonio Brown for whatever that's worth.
Lamar's the boy for
so
sure.
Exactly. That's why the intangibles do it.
And listen, 100% agree with that. That assessment with intangibles and Lamar Jackson, he's the king of intangibles because he is one of the most hardworking individuals in the National Football League. And I don't want to get it misconstrued that I'm an anti-Lamar guy.
Yeah, you're pro Lamar.
I'm a fan of Lamar Jackson in his game. I just would rather Kyler Murray because I understand that in this day and age, you need a quarterback that can sling the rock and be mobile as well. And Kyler Murray is definitely better at passing.
Bonus name, Joe Burrow.
Kyler Murray.
I also would take Kyler Murray.
Over Joe Burrow?
I would.
Kyler Murray.
Man, I can't get on board with that. How dare you guys?
I think I had Joe Burrow over Kyler on my list, though.
You did, for sure.
The disrespect you two
I'm taking
towards Joe Burrow is ridiculous.
I actually did take Joe Burrow in our top 10 list, but going forward, which is right, this is projections, 100%.
I'm taking Joe Burrow.
Wait, so you think going forward, Kyler's better than Joe?
Yes.
I need Joe Burrow in the TikTok, not the Kyler.
Okay. You'll get that. You'll get that wish granted.
Which is crazy because I didn't get the Devin Booker in the last Would You Rather, but whatever.
That was like down later in the video.
I know, but I came out and said, I was like, listen.
Yeah, no, that was like 3 minutes after.
But it was the very next name.
No, it was like 3 minutes after.
Trust me, it was the very next name. You can just trust that, all right? Just lock it.
I was editing it.
I watched.
Real quick,
I know.
And I live it.
Out of those names you mentioned, who are you taking Kyler over?
I know, this guy never answers the question either.
I'm curious.
He just likes to sit back there and be like, you what?
Let's us get all the
so you want me to
thousands.
So okay, so now it's my turn to say who would I rather have. Okay, well, Tua is not a discussion. Kyler's better than him.
Yes.
I'd actually rather have Dak Prescott than Kyler.
You're nuts.
I'd rather have Dak. What
does he do better than Kyler?
I just love Dak's intangibles better.
What does he do better than him?
And he can read the middle of the field better than Kyler Murray.
He is stuck on this middle of the field thing that over that post you sent us on Instagram or whatever it was.
It's a real thing.
All right,
it's a real thing.
Just go to the next guy.
Okay, so I'd rather have Dak than Kyler. I'd rather have Stafford than Kyler, Russell than Kyler, Lamar than Kyler. And if we're going long term,
you're just glossing over that.
Okay, so we'll just start from the beginning. We'll start from the top.
No, you don't have to. Lamar Jackson, why over Kyler?
Because I think when you say Kyler's a significantly better passer, I don't agree with that. I don't think he's significantly better.
He is.
I think he's accurate at some parts of the field.
Throwing the ball deep downfield, he's accurate.
But we just saw Lamar Jackson have his best passing season, and he won an MVP.
And he had 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
Not only that,
no disrespect to him.
Kyler Murray is one of those guys that the offense is schemed up for him in a way to hide a lot of his deficiencies. So when he faces better elite defenses, they expose that.
So what's his deficiency?
Okay,
is Kyler
reading
Murray
the middle of the field.
So that's it?
That's a big thing.
And bro, I really don't. I'm not thinking too much about that.
Kyler Murray is great at the deep ball. But most of his stuff is stuff outside. He passes the ball outside the numbers a lot because it's not that he can't read defenses. It's that he can't see over the lineman when throwing it over the middle of the field. That's why Cliff has to scheme up a lot of rollouts for him and a lot of stuff outside.
Also,
outside the numbers.
You're saying he throws more outside the pocket, not outside the numbers.
Outside the numbers and the pocket, but it's mostly due to the
offensive line is not good.
And also the thing with Kyler is that everything seems to be a broken hero play that he has to make.
His offensive line's not good.
The best quarterbacks can make those hero plays, but the best quarterbacks also are the ones that are able to stay in the pocket and make those tight window throws. And Kyler is not able to see over his offensive lineman. The reason why he struggled so much in that Rams playoff game is because they took the outside out,
and because he had no one to get the ball to.
There were so many plays. Kyler could have made a play, but didn't make a play because he doesn't look at the middle of the field. That's part of the reason why Cliff struggles to scheme up an offense that doesn't get bland towards the end of the season, because it's limited for Kyler. That's why I wouldn't take Kyler over a lot of these guys, because I don't think those limitations apply to a guy like Dak Prescott.
So it's because he's 5'11".
It's because he can't see over his offensive lineman, and that's a big thing.
We've seen short quarterbacks succeed.
We've seen one in Russell Wilson and Drew Brees.
Yeah. But
We've seen,
really
and Kyler Murray has been excellent.
He has been fantastic.
He's been fantastic.
Excellent.
But when you watch the film, these are some things that pop out.
Listen,
are
Kyler and
watch
Lamar
and
are
I
neck
think
and
it's
neck.
fine.
They're neck and neck.
But that's why I'm taking Lamar. I think Lamar, it's not really a debate between like who's a better runner. Like you might think it's close, but Lamar. Okay, Lamar clears him in that.
Absolutely, we're talking about the greatest mobile quarterback in the history of the game.
What you're talking about, Lamar is a significantly better leader, and Lamar isn't this bad passer. He just hasn't had elite tier options.
He's not a bad passer. He's just not on Kyler's level at all.
He is on Kyler's level.
Lamar's
Passing
also
the football, no.
We just mentioned third highest ADOT in the league. He's pushing the ball down the field.
You say that, but Kyler Murray has yet to have a season where he's had better passing numbers than Lamar did in 2019.
Is that correct?
That is correct. In terms of from an efficiency standpoint,
he was unanimous.
He had more yards. 20
completion percentage, not touchdowns.
In 2020,
Kyler Murray probably had more
yards.
passing yards, but I'm talking about in totality. Lamar Jackson had one of the most efficient passing seasons in NFL history.
Yeah, he had like a 9% touchdown percentage, which is
for
ridiculous.
sure.
Kyler Murray has never been able, hasn't done that yet, and I don't think he will do that.
Kyler had 3,800 passing yards and 800 rushing with 10 touchdowns.
You want to look up Kyler or look up Lamar?
Yes.
That doesn't, but he's never had a season like Lamar.
I'm just saying
that's unanimous
season's
MVP.
Ridiculous. 3,900 yards, excuse me.
And that unanimous MVP wasn't just because Lamar had 1,000 yards rushing.
Lamar had 3,100 in 2019.
Yeah, 3,900, and this past season, 3,787.
And how many passing touchdowns that year, Joel?
36.
36.
Kyler hasn't had that yet.
He had 39, 26, 12 INTs, which is, you'd like to bring that down a little bit. And rushing the football, he had 819 yards and 11 touchdowns.
You said Kyler had 39?
3,900.
Oh, I thought you said 39 touchdowns.
No.
I mean, yeah.
In total, he might have had that.
1,200 yards.
And then Kyler Murray's completion percentage is also so high because he throws a lot of short concepts.
But then again, we're talking about that's not really a thing to me because when he throws the ball down the field, it's right on the money. So
but
really, who cares?
He can't throw in the middle of the field. He struggles in that area. That's his biggest deficiency as a quarterback right now. That right there.
Listen, with Hollywood Brown, we'll see what happens.
No, that's a better fit for him. Yeah, for sure. But we'll, like you said, we'll see what happens. I'm not this big Kyler guy, and I don't. And
Kyler's really good.
Kyler's him.
No, he's really good, but he's never going to be in that tier. He's never going to be in Joe Burrow. He's never going to be on Joe Burrow's level.
We were talking about Kyler Murray being the MVP of the league 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
He's never going to be on Joe Burrow's level.
Never.
He's never going to be on Joe Burrow's level. So
Kyler?
Yeah, never, absolutely not.
Statistically, he'll be there. I don't know if he's gonna.
So let me recap the names, though. Let me recap the names for you. So, would you rather? This is my would I rather with Kyler Murray. I'm taking Dak over Kyler, Kyler over Tua, Kyler over Derek Carr, Stafford over Kyler, Wilson over Kyler, Lawrence over Kyler long term for sure.
Oh my God!
And Lamar Jackson over Kyler and Joe Burrow over Kyler. That's not even a debate.
That's
Lawrence, not even a debate.
I understand the coach and everything goes into it. He had a historically bad rookie season. This isn't just like it was iffy, whatever. Like it was historically bad.
I know. And trust me. Look, I was just like you, but I did my research this past week and I watched a lot of film this past week. And I'm getting ready to say some stuff about Trevor Lawrence that I frankly feel good about.
I don't think he's gonna be terrible.
I'm pretty
definitely
high on
not
him
gonna be
as well.
as bad as
I frankly
past
feel good
season,
about.
But I see him. Yeah, I mean, like Derek Carr type of tier.
On to the AFC South predictions. That's the next part of this show. Some call it one of the weaker divisions of football. It probably is one of the weaker ones in football, probably the weakest in football. But we're starting off with the best team in the AFC last year, record-wise at least, the Tennessee Titans. 12-5 last season, lost in the divisional round versus the Cincinnati Bengals, who went on to compete versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. Do you feel like the Titans are being overlooked and underrated coming into this season? I'll start with you, Drew.
Ooh,
I feel like
you faked me out there.
Yeah, no.
It's a no look.
I'll say this. I think overlooked and underrated, I don't want to use those terms. I feel like disrespected is the word that I feel like is appropriate, but I feel like overlooked, no, because then you look at their schedule and then you understand why there's a chance that they might not finish up top of the division, because this schedule, like, I went into it with an open mind. Yes, they're being overlooked. You know, they had a significantly worse roster last season. Significantly worse is strong. But they went through a bunch of injuries. Derrick Henry was out. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, like I mentioned earlier in the show, in and out of the lineup. One of the worst offensive lines in the league. Ryan Tannehill was able, on top of the defense, most importantly the defense, specifically that defensive line of theirs. And, of course, Byard, you have to give him that respect. However, they still were able to win games and finish up top of the AFC conference. Number 1 seed, get that bye. They were underwhelming come playoff time for sure. One of the weaker 1 seeds we've seen. However, you still have to give them that respect with the amount of adversity they faced and the ability to overcome that. You still have to give them that credit. However, I look at the schedule and I do get worried, especially for the fact that, one, their offensive line is still bad, did not improve much, and 2, their secondary. You're counting on Caleb Farley to come back, and he was injured a majority of last season. And outside of him, and Byard, of course, who is one of the best safeties in the league, if not the best safety in the league. Outside of Byard, there's not much depth here on the secondary. So I do have my worries when it comes to those two regards. And lastly, it's Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was a huge part of the reason why the Titans were able to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, because he was so great at managing these games in the regular season. However, when it came down to playoff time where he needed to play up to par, he wasn't able to do so and ended up costing his team the game. Now, in terms of their record prediction, it was really tough for me because I wanted to have them in a position where they were at minimum fighting for that last wild card spot, or even still potentially fighting for the top spot in their division. But just going through the schedule, I didn't see how it was possible. I'll go through week by week so you guys can see what I'm talking about in terms of difficulty. So week 1, I have versus the Giants. I have the W there. At Buffalo, a loss. Las Vegas in Tennessee, I have a loss. At Indianapolis, I have a loss. At Washington, I have a W here, and then they enter their bye week. Versus Indianapolis, I gave them the W. I do believe that they split. At Houston, W. At KC, I have a loss. Versus Denver, I have a loss. At Green Bay, I have a loss. Versus Cincinnati, I actually went back to my Cincinnati predictions. I actually gave Cincinnati a loss here, given the fact that they had a very intense matchup in the playoffs, and it came down to one play, really, and Cincinnati ended up stealing a game there, and I think that Tennessee's going to be hungry, looking forward to this game mostly over the rest of these games this season, and I do have Tennessee winning here. At Philadelphia, I have Tennessee winning. Versus Jacksonville, I have Tennessee winning. At LA Chargers, I have them losing. Versus Houston, I have them winning. Versus Dallas, I have them winning. And at Jacksonville, Week 18, I have them losing, coming to a record of 9-8.
That seems fair. So you think they sweep Houston?
I do think so. Houston, I'm not super high on, obviously, for obvious reasons. It is in division. Of course, that's always the chance that they could lose. However, I feel like Tennessee is more than capable of beating them.
Yeah, I agree. The question I have with the Titans this year, what version of Ryan Tannehill are we getting?
100%.
Right, that's number one, because in 2021 he had more interceptions than 2020 and 2019 combined. Right, he did play decent in at least definitely not to his part in the regular season and the postseason as well. So what type of Ryan Tannehill are we going to get, and what does this offense look like with no AJ Brown? Right, you guys know Treylon Burks was my favorite wide receiver, but he's not coming in and replacing AJ Brown 100%. Their other wide receiver being Robert Woods, 30 years old, coming off a torn ACL. So this offense is going to look, at least passing-wise, a lot different than it has in years past.
He can't even get through a practice.
He has asthma. He'll be fine.
Treylon Burks. Well, so far, he can't get through a practice.
He has asthma, bro. He'll be fine.
Asthma's not something to joke about, bro.
He'll be fine.
All right, as first
I'm just
responder, Drew, I'm
giving you
letting
the
you know that
facts.
asthma is serious.
I'm just giving you the fact that he has been unable to
the first day of practice, he didn't finish practice. Day 2, he came and played and did full practice. That's not
I'm
true.
not saying that it's a problem. I'm just saying he's been unable to participate in a lot of practices.
He finished day 2 of
practice.
minicamp. He played the entire practice, participated in the entire practice. Day 1, he struggled because of asthma.
He's AJ Brown light.
He'll be fine.
Well, I trust you because you're the one that probably has Traylon Brooks as your lock screen.
I don't. It's actually it's Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown and Jamar Chase.
Okay.
But moving on.
Taste.
Man of taste, of course. And my home screen one is Mekhi Becton.
Oh, that's ugly.
It's kind of nuts. I know. I just need a Jets one in there.
Listen, Mekhi, if he's healthy,
he could be that guy.
The big ticket. You don't get that nickname for nothing.
For sure. Moving on to Derrick Henry though.
That's because he lets everybody pass him by.
He was great his rookie year. What are we doing?
That's actually not a good nickname for an offensive lineman.
I actually love the nickname,
especially
because of that.
If you're an offensive lineman and your nickname is called the big ticket, that's because you let everybody get entry.
Bro, have you seen his chain?
His chin?
His chain.
Yeah, I have seen his chain.
Bro, that
He's
chain
tough.
is one of the iciest chains I've ever seen in my life.
He's super tough. I'm moving on to Derrick Henry for the 3rd time now.
Crime.
I think Derrick Henry will probably be fine, but I can't sit here and ignore that age 28 is typically the age apex for running backs. This is when we see a pretty steep decline in the history of the NFL. This is where we see the steep decline for running backs, and I don't think it's a coincidence that his first major injury came last season in his age 27 season, and he also struggled right before injury when he came back. That playoff game, maybe not 100%, wasn't phenomenal either. I think Derrick Henry will be okay, but just keep an eye out because that age 28 season historically is when running backs decline. You mentioned about the offensive line being questionable. Defensively, I think they'll be fine. They were 6th in points, 3rd in rush defense. They did struggle against the pass, but this year they're getting J.C. Horn back. They extended Harold Landry. So I think they should be fine defensively. But I just look at the rest of the AFC, and which we've talked about time and time again, how great it is at quarterback, at offense, just teams in general. There's 8 teams in the AFC that wouldn't shock me if any of them went to the Super Bowl. I don't see Tennessee in that conversation. I have them at 8 and 9. Right on the borderline of, possibly being on that wild card spot, but 8 and 9, you're probably 2 games out. You're probably 2 games out at this point. It sucks because I think Vrabel's a great coach, and honestly, if it wasn't for Vrabel, they might be 7 and 10. If you really look at the schedule, their out-of-division opponents are really difficult. You mentioned a few of them being KC, the Chargers, Dallas, Philly. Like, they have a few really tough opponents. So I have them going 8 and 9, probably missing the division, probably missing the playoffs.
I think they are being overlooked and underrated. I like the Tennessee Titans.
I'm shocked to hear this. This is the first time you're saying this all of season.
Yeah, I mean, I know I like the Colts a lot. They're still the favorites for me to win this division. But I just can't help but look at what the Titans have been over the past couple of years, who Mike Vrabel is as a coach, and Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. I know he had a down season last year, but I can't blame the guy much when the offensive line was one of the worst in the NFL. That's why it's hard. It's just they have the 16th ranked offensive line, but that's because their run blocking efficiency is really good, and then their pass blocking efficiency is just one of the worst in the NFL. And you can't ask a quarterback to succeed in those type of conditions, especially when your receivers are inconsistent and Julio Jones, A.J. Brown being unhealthy, no option at tight end. There was no receivers for Ryan Tannehill all season. Austin Hooper, to me, is not somebody who really, moves the needle for me. I'm not that confident in him. Mike Vrabel has never had a losing season. 9-7, 9-7, 11-5, 12-5. He's gotten better every year, and this is the same coach that last year dealt with the most players that were out due to injury and just an influx of key players out all year, and they still finished with the 15th ranked offense, 6th ranked defense. They beat the Bills, Chiefs, Rams, Niners, swept the Colts. Like, to me, it's just Mike Vrabel and the Titans have done too much. They have proved too much to me for me to just say they're going to fall down and give up and just be this team that is not that good. The defense is going to be better this year. Jeffrey Simmons is still there. Danico Autry, Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, now having a full year recovering from his ACL. Their linebacking core, I think, got better. They replaced Rashad Evans, and Jayon Brown with David Long, who was better than both of them last year, and Zach Cunningham, who was a former Pro Bowler with the Texans, who now is in the scheme for a year now. Caleb Farley, very high on him as a prospect. Season was cut short last year due to injury. Christian Fulton is a star in the making. Christian Fulton is one of those guys that people aren't talking about enough, but last season, 13 games, 2 interceptions, 14 passes defended, allowed a 51.4 completion percentage, the best of any corner in the NFL, and a 71.3 passer rating. And his 16.7% incompletion rate is one of the best in the NFL, top 25 coverage grade. In 2020, he was in a slot as rookie, but in 2021, he was placed on the outside. That's where he's going to fit best. Christian Fulton, to me, is a star. And outside of the Buffalo Bills, I think they have arguably the best safety duo in the NFL with Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker. They're flat out awesome. And Elijah Molden in the slot. Like, there is a lot to be excited about with this defense. This defense is going to be elite. And the offensive line, that's just really where I worry about the most. And the weapons group, of course, because you're relying on Treylon Burks, who knows what he's going to be. Like, listen, he disappointed at the combine. Watching his film,
he had a 90% speed score. It was higher than Garrett Wilson's.
Listen, I don't want your input on my
okay.
Treylon Brooks, even on the film, I didn't think he was a top 3 receiver in the draft to me on film. Austin Hooper, he's average. Like, he's the definition of just a mediocre tight end. He can block and stuff, but average. He's just average. Robert Woods coming off a torn ACL. That's worrisome as well.
Oh, my guy's all right, man.
It's just the weapons group. It's one of the worst in the league. You're relying on a rookie to really take you over the top in Treylon Burks. The offensive line, they lost Roger Saffold, who's one of the better run blockers, but in pass pro, he struggles tremendously. And you're relying on guys like Brewer and Radens to now step up and get starting roles and all of a sudden be better. You know, maybe that makes a difference. But to me, it's just, listen, I think the Titans are going to be good. Do I think they're going to be great? I don't think they're going to be great. I think the defense is going to be one of the better ones in the league, and Jim Schwartz is a defensive assistant on that staff. He's somebody who's routinely had great defenses throughout his coaching career. And you look at the schedule, there's very few gimmies. They have such a tough schedule: Buffalo, Las Vegas, Indy twice, Kansas City, Green Bay, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, the Chargers, Dallas. When you went over the schedule, Drew, you gave them the win week 17 and the loss week 18. I'm more likely thinking they're losing to Dallas and winning against Jacksonville and maybe sweeping them more so than they're going to beat Dallas, because I think Dallas is still a formidable opponent. I have them finishing 9-8. I think that's a reasonable place for them to finish. If the offensive line can figure it out and they're better from last year, if Derrick Henry doesn't get hurt, if Robert Woods is all of a sudden the same guy he was before, and Treylon Burks is the best rookie receiver, and Austin Hooper has a resurgence, and Ryan Tannehill now goes back to his 2020 form, like, there's a lot of things that factor into them overachieving. Then I can see them as one of the better teams in the AFC again, like they have been the past couple of years. But as currently stands, there are just way too many question marks offensively that hold me back from saying they're gonna win this division.
Do you have them beating Jacksonville both games?
I think there's a chance they sweep the Texans and Jacksonville.
I have them sweeping Jacksonville. I have them splitting with Houston. I also went back. I think they beat Dallas. I have them at 9-8. Not to just piggyback on you guys, but 9-8, 8-9 sounds about right.
Yeah, because week 18 is at Jacksonville, which is why I have them as a loss. And then against Dallas, Dallas is one of those teams that's hard to project as well, because you obviously have to be high on Dak Prescott. You have to be high on CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, their offensive line, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard. Of course, can't forget about him when you're in the presence of Joel V. Moran.
And Dak splits with Amari versus not Amari. There's a big difference.
No, for sure. And I do have my worries about that.
But he did not have CeeDee Lamb.
And I do have my worries about that secondary as well. You give the credit to Diggs 100%. He just had one of the most insane efficiencies in terms of intercepting the football, but giving up yards over the top, it was ridiculous. Of course, you have Micah Parsons, who's one of the best defensive players in the league, but overall, I'm still not overly impressed with that defense. And offensively, we're going to see what Dak Prescott is made of when he doesn't have a plethora of weapons on the outside to really sling it. And listen, Vrabel is an amazing head coach. I would not be surprised if they get that W, especially at home.
On to the next team, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this is a team that I am very high on. They're my team. They're my agenda-based team this year. Last year it was the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Vikings didn't live up to the bill. The Eagles did. This year, though, I don't have too many teams on my agenda. It's just the Colts. There's not a team that I think... The Eagles, too, because I have them winning the NFC East as well. The Colts are my team this year, outside of my team, the Jets. The Colts are my team. 9-8 last season, collapsed at the end of the year because of Carson Wentz mostly. And it was just weird. They beat New England and Arizona back-to-back, then lose to Vegas and lose to Jacksonville. As that's what you have that's what happens when you have a Carson Wentz-led team. But this team isn't led by Carson Wentz anymore. It's led by Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, Hall of Fame quarterback, top 10 in passing yards, completions, attempts, touchdowns. Longevity. Now I'm just going to go first and give my spiel on the Colts because last year the teams they lost to were the Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Bucks, and the Jaguars, of course, and the Raiders. All these teams outside of the Jaguars are really good teams. Seahawks at the time had Russell Wilson. That was week 1. They were still good. Rams, Titans, Bucks, all at the top of their conference. And the Raiders made the playoffs and gave the Bengals a fight in their first playoff game. I just look at this Matt Ryan edition as something that's going to take them over the top. And I'm so excited to just see my prediction coming into fruition because it's going to happen. Matt Ryan is one of those guys, you look at the stats and you say pedestrian, but then you watch it and you see how much he goes through, the dysfunction around him, the ability to lead. The other day in OTAs, the offense did something wrong and Matt Ryan checked them on it. That's something Carson Wentz would have been too timid to do because he's not a leader. He's not a natural-born leader like Matt Ryan. You want to know what Yannick Ngakoue said about Matt Ryan?
Inform me.
He said Matt Ryan can lead us to the Super Bowl. That locker room in Matt Ryan's short stint in Indianapolis already has the guys with confidence that he can lead them to new and greater heights. And that's what excites me most about the Indianapolis Colts. It's a chance for Matt Ryan to get his redemption on everybody that's always been saying he's washed. It's a chance for the Colts to get back into the playoffs and win playoff games. And what did Michael Pittman say about Matt Ryan the other day when he was talking about his accuracy?
He can put it anywhere he wants.
He can put it anywhere he wants because Matt Ryan throws missiles, lasers. He doesn't miss. He's like the Kendrick Lamar of football, just doesn't miss. That's who Matt Ryan is.
That is
insanity.
The comparison can go.
On to some important stuff I want to talk about. You know, we've talked about the Colts before after they got Ryan. And, you know, one of the bigger things, one of the bigger players that I think is going to have a better role and now is going to produce more with Ryan is Nyheim Hines. Oh, and when I mentioned him a couple episodes ago, you guys said that, well, you know, he didn't get the load. His load was diminished because of Jonathan Taylor's breakout, but that's actually not true because in 2020 he played 36% of snaps. In 2021, this past year, he played 32% of snaps. But in 2019, he played 32% of snaps and had 4 more receptions and 10 more yards than he did in 2021. Okay. I think even if Nyheim Hines plays around the same amount of snaps, he's going to have better numbers. He's going to have more receptions. He's going to have more yards.
Are you saying because Matt Ryan's going to check down more?
It's because Matt Ryan's going to take what the defense gives him.
He's an avid check downer.
It's not that he's an average check downer. It's that
it's not a bad thing.
Matt Ryan.
You got to use that whenever he brings it up about checking down.
For sure.
Matt Ryan takes
what the defense
I've said that all the time.
Michael Pittman is a true clown for it. Michael Pittman is a true wide receiver 1.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He's a true wide receiver 1. Is he elite of the elite?
This season,
No.
this season will prove
But
if he is.
there are a lot of great receivers in the NFL, and Michael Pittman is one of those guys, one of the best 50-50 jump ball guys in the entire NFL.
The 18th best receiver.
And look, Paris Campbell, that's the guy I'm really going to it starts here. I'm starting the Paris Campbell agenda. Paris Campbell is going to have a breakout season next year.
What about Alec Pierce?
I like Alec Pierce. I think he's going to be
it seems like he's been getting a lot of the hype out of camp.
It's been Paris Campbell.
What's Paris Campbell? What's he putting up this year?
Let me just give my spiel first. I like Alec Pierce. I think Alec Pierce will give the Colts another guy alongside Paris Campbell to take the top off the defense. But I think Alec Pierce has a similar rookie season to maybe like a Van Jefferson his rookie year. I see like 600, 700 yards from Alec Pierce. A good, solid rookie season.
I thought you were saying like the 800 Van had this year.
Paris Campbell is going to have a breakout season this year. In OTA so far, one day of OTAs, he caught 3 straight touchdown passes from Matt Ryan. The MVPs, according to beat reporters from the Colts, the MVPs of OTAs so far have been Matt Ryan, Nyheim Hines, and Paris Campbell. All guys that I think are going to be huge additions this year and going to have good seasons. Paris Campbell is a very, very good receiver. The problem with him is that he fails to stay healthy. I know you're laughing, but let me finish. Paris Campbell's problem is not that he can't play receiver at the NFL level.
We don't know.
It's that
we legitimately do not know.
That he gets hurt. He's played 15 total games in his 3-year career. He's had an abdominal strain, hand fracture, foot fracture, all in the same year in 2019. In 2020, he had an MCL and PCL injury in week 2. In 2021, another foot injury. But in 2020, week 1, 6 receptions, 71 yards. Week 1, he was having a great game and then goes down. It's just unfortunate. I feel bad for Paris Campbell, but he's shown he can play. And then 2021, week 5, 4 receptions, 56 yards. Week 6, 1 reception, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, then got hurt. The unfortunate truth about Paris Campbell is that whenever he starts to garner and gain momentum, he gets hurt. And that's unfortunate. But it's not that he can't play. He can play. There was a reason why he was a higher rated prospect than Terry McLaurin coming out of Ohio State. He was the wide receiver number 1 coming out of Ohio State. He's just been hurt to this point. It's not his fault. It's unfortunate. But this year, listen, I pray to the gods up in the sky he stays healthy, because he's gonna show everybody that he can play with Matt Ryan slinging that dang. You talk about A-Dot all the time. Watch Matt Ryan's A-Dot numbers this year with Alec Pierce, Pittman, and Paris Campbell. I want you to keep that same energy that you was keeping for everybody else. And the disrespect to Matt Ryan is going to stop with you. Yep. I swear it's going to stop with you. And then defense. Gus Bradley, Stephon Gilmore, Yannick Ngakoue had the most Pro Bowlers last year. And you look at their schedule. It's ridiculously easy.
Okay.
Houston win. Jacksonville win. KC, I'll give them a loss. Tennessee, I think they win. That's 3-1 to start. Denver, I'll give Denver the win. That's 3-2. Then they face Jacksonville, Tennessee, Washington, New England, Las Vegas. I don't think that's a tough schedule. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Minnesota, Chargers, New York, and Houston. I feel like a lot of these games are winnable. And to me, I have the Colts going 12-5 this year. I think they're going to go 12-5. I think Matt Ryan is going to have a tremendous bounce-back season. JT is going to be who JT is. And Paris Campbell, you better hope he doesn't stay healthy, because, Joe, you're going to regret laughing on the show about him not being able to play.
I mean, no disrespect to Paris Campbell, but to say we know he could play NFL football is 100% false.
I know
he's played 3 years. He's never had more than 160 yards, bro, in a season. 160 yards.
That's because he's been hurt.
He can't stay on the field.
That's what I'm saying. He's been hurt.
So you think he's going to play 17 games?
The reason why I know Paris Campbell can play is because every year since he's been in the NFL, in training camp, he's torched the Colts defense.
Like, I don't really give a fuck about training camp.
And minicamp.
Like, I was told Justin Jefferson was terrible. I was told Jamar Chase can't catch.
2020, he started week 1, 6 receptions, 71 yards, then gets hurt for the year.
I don't care about a 1-week sample. Like, I
know,
really
but
do not care at all.
6 receptions, 71 yards is a good game. Then you get hurt for the year, bro.
But bro,
how are you able to get momentum?
You can't give me a 1 week sample and be like, listen, he could play. He could play. Like, no, it's a 1 week sample. A lot of guys were great 1 week.
Then before he got hurt,
Mike White was amazing for 1 week.
Then before he got hurt in 2021, 50 yards back to back, and on week 6, 51 yards, 1 reception, 1 touchdown, a deep bomb, and then gets hurt. That's what I'm saying. But like whenever he gets momentum, he gets hurt. It's unfortunate, but he can play.
One thing I want to ask about
you're crazy, bro. You're crazy.
I don't want to drag the Paris Campbell take too much because you know what? This is your projection. End of the day, we can at least come together and agree that Paris Campbell has not shown us that he is capable of maintaining a high level of wide receiver play. But if you're projecting that he's going to excel in his role this season, then hey, I'm not going to knock you.
Sorry, real quick, what's his stat line this year?
If he stays healthy?
Yep.
I think he goes for it. Just being reasonable.
And just keep in mind also that you laughed at Jerry Jeudy having 1250, so be careful with
just
the number.
Being reasonable about it, I think he's going to have like 700 to 900 yards if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy.
Okay. All right, man. Listen, a lot of the things you said, I definitely agree with. I think the Colts are definitely the team that, outside of the Broncos, that made additions that are going to put them in a significantly better position to be successful this season, particularly when it pertains to the quarterback position. Matt Ryan is still a high-level quarterback. High level, I don't want to get that misconstrued with I think that he's a fringe top 10. No, I think you put it very accurately, Joel. I say he's in that class of that 13 to 15 range, closer to 15, in my opinion. I think the list that I made, I had him 14. But regardless of that fact, 12-5 seems a little bit too strong for me. Do you have them beating Philadelphia?
Yeah.
You have them beating Dallas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have them beating Philly, losing to Dallas.
I have them losing to Philadelphia and Dallas. So I'm gonna go through my schedule really quick and then go through my analysis. I have them losing to Jacksonville week 2, actually at Jacksonville. I have them losing at Denver. I have them losing to Kansas City. Week 3. I have them losing at Tennessee. I have them losing to Philadelphia. I have them losing at Dallas. I have them losing to the Chargers, and that's it. I have them going 10-7. I feel like 10-7 is a fine record, given the fact that yes, Matt Ryan is an upgrade from Carson Wentz.
Significantly.
I think he's an upgrade for sure, without a doubt. I'm not a complete slanderer of Carson Wentz's name. I think Carson Wentz is going to be fine statistically. I don't know if it's going to impact the wins column because Washington is still in a position where that team's a little ugly for me. But I look at this defense, and I agree with everything you say about it. Secondary-wise, it's fantastic. You have Gilmore. You have Moore. That is a dangerous duo. The front seven is strong. I look at this offense. The offensive line needs to be better than last season's. But, you know, you claim...
It will be. Matt Pryor.
Which is what... was an issue of Carson Wentz, that he held the ball a little bit too long and allowed him to be put in situations where he was pressured. Matt Ryan is not one of those guys that he's afraid to check down. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have an unbelievable season, receiving-wise as well as rushing. And then you mentioned Nyheim Hines. I think Nyheim Hines is going to have an extremely efficient season as well because Matt Ryan is so prone to checking down. And I'm not saying that as a negative by any means. Checking down is not a bad thing. If you don't have anything and you want to see your running back, these running backs nowadays in the modern NFL are more than capable of handling that load, and especially
it just affects your A-dot, which then gets used against you when Joe pulls
which is why that was just a low blow. Let me not say a low blow, a quick jab,
because he called him Norm Lamar. That's the only reason I brought it up.
And that was very rude, and I know you know that's rude, especially because you think that he's better than Kyler Murray. But my whole thing is, it's not a bad thing when you have Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, two of the better receiving running backs in the league. Nyheim Hines, which is what he specializes at. My concern still is at the wide receiver position. If Alec Pierce can come in and be efficient in his rookie season, give you like 600, 700 yards, if Paris Campbell lives up to the hype that my friend Joel V. Moran is spewing to you guys, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Colts definitely exceed even my expectations. Mm-hmm. But they really have to step up to that level. The wide receiver position is still a concern for me. But Pittman is going to be good enough that he is going to have an extremely successful season, especially with Matt Ryan throwing the football. Matt Ryan is amongst one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. I'm not going to go above and beyond and say that they're going to significantly watch these guys. I feel like 10-7 is fair.
The only thing that concerns me about the Colts is the receiver position. That being said, if Paris Campbell is healthy, I'm not concerned. If Paris Campbell is healthy, that is a really good group. Campbell and Pierce are both 4-4 guys with Pittman who can go up there with any corner in the league in a jump ball situation. It's going to be hard to guard the Colts offense when you have to worry about Jonathan Taylor than two guys on the outside that are 4-4 guys. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult.
Paris Campbell, 2019, played 7 games. He averaged 18 yards per game.
Yo, Pittman is a big boy,
In
bro.
2021,
Jesus.
Paris Campbell pid 6 games. He averaged 27 yards per game. You said 700 to 900 yards?
2019 with Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. You said 700-900, right?
Yeah.
I'll take the under 800. You want to do that?
Well, are we going to have if he's healthy, right?
You write all these down, I'm assuming. No?
I don't write. You want to bet with you every single segment, bro.
Because you have some ridiculous takes.
I don't. It's just going to.
700, 900 is a lot for Paris Campbell.
That's why I went in the middle. I said under 800.
No, it's a lot for somebody if you think they're going to get hurt. I'm projecting him not to get hurt. Like, if you're telling me if he plays 8 games, is this deal off?
How many games does he have to play?
If he gets hurt, look, I'll say 15.
I mean, I don't think he's going to play 15
But
games,
that's part
though.
that's part of the banking on Paris Campbell and
Well, that's why I
jumping
said
on the hype train.
No, but I can't control somebody getting
But
hurt.
I'm saying you have to take that into account, especially when you're projecting someone who's been constantly injured.
Okay, so Saquon Barkley, fantasy, are you going to draft him?
You can't talk to this guy.
You're talking to the wrong guy because, listen, I'm going into year 3 now where Saquon, year 2.
But he's been hurt.
But you can't draft
But
him.
if you're Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, they're good. If they get hurt, you can't control that. If I make a bet with him and then my guy gets hurt, why should that bet still be on? My projection is based off of him playing most of the season because Paris Campbell is a good receiver. He just has to stay healthy, which he hasn't to this point.
That's like me with banking on Josh Gordon. Just as long as he was on the field, if he comes back, regardless of however long the suspension was, if he's back on the field, he's going to be great.
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying that deal, if you're telling me if Paris Campbell plays at least 14, 15 games, I will take that.
Let me tell you, 11 games, Darren Waller was able to put up, Gronkowski played 12 games. He had 802. I feel like 10 games is fair.
10 games for 700, 900 yards.
10 games, 700 to 900.
That's big time. I don't think even D-Hop did that.
He didn't.
D-Hop had 8 touchdowns.
D-Hop averaged like 55 yards per game.
I'm talking about yards, though.
I understand, but Paris Campbell is
10 games for 900 yards is a lot.
with
bro.
Matt Ryan.
No, that's ridiculous, though. That's like elite level
It's
production.
ridiculous to sit here and talk about
You know
Paris
what,
Campbell like he's a proven
Like,
wide
I'm not.
receiver.
I'm
He
not
has
looking.
You're
I'm
right,
not.
10 is low.
I'm not
10's
looking
low.
at. I'm not.
10's
You
low.
guys are getting this assumption for some reason that I think Paris Campbell's this elite star. I just think he's a very good receiver.
No, you said he's
who's
a proven NFL wide receiver.
No, I said he's proved that he can play.
And another thing also is that getting 900 yards in the NFL is a
I think
difficult thing to
I
do.
think Paris Campbell healthy is similar in a similar tier to Christian Kirk.
Okay, how about this? If he plays,
I'm low on Kirk, so fine.
he has to play 13 games for it to count.
13 games, 700 yards.
That's fair.
I took 8, you said 700 to 900. Why isn't it? So why should I say 900? I
That's-
went in the
that's
middle and did
high end.
800.
That's high.
You said 7 to 9. I went in the middle
man,
at 800.
just give your spiel, man. Enough of this
do
betting
you not
stuff.
want to do it?
It's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that with Paris Campbell, it's such a
I'm giving you
It's-
the
it's-
out. If he plays less than 13 games, it's done.
yeah. But I don't want to bank on an injury
It's
like
cool.
that.
It's cool because
No.
if his injury doesn't count.
You're just gonna look. I'd rather just see the look in your face when you see Paris Campbell take the top off the defense and have consistently good
I'm
performances.
sure he'll do it once or twice throughout the season.
Than me betting with you.
He's
on
going to
it.
do it like once and he's going to blow up the group.
I don't
Say, oh my
need to-
God, did you see Paris Campbell as
I
he
don't
has
need to take
300
your. I don't
yards
need
on the
to take
season
your
in
money
week
for me to
15?
feel satisfaction about that.
I don't know. It has nothing to do about the money. Like I don't care about the money. It's just that I know he's not getting 800 yards.
If he stays healthy,
Yes, that's why
That's
13 games,
17
bro.
games?
13 games is a pretty big
That's crazy.
sample size for me to be like, can he play? Can he not play?
well, 13 games, 800 yards is very, very great production.
Bro, this man's played 15 games in his career.
I was just about to ask, has he played 13 games?
Exactly.
Like,
I'm just saying, if he this year,
I know you have the Colts agenda and everything, and I respect.
Look,
it.
it's not just the Colts agenda. It's just that this is a guy that I think can play. That I hope gets the opportunity to prove himself.
So he can double his career total in yards this season.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Listen, I like you. I
That's
like
600 yards.
It's not a high part to climb. No disrespect.
It's 720.
720.
It's not no disrespect to
You can
Paris
do
Campbell.
that though. Like,
But
give your spiel on the Colts. So you didn't even talk about.
I know I haven't
because you're hating.
I'm too busy picking apart your fucking spiel going on with all
about
this
Paris
shit
Campbell.
about the Colts,
sorry,
Paris
dude.
Campbell, Naeem Hines, and Alec Pierce.
Turn on the film, and you're gonna see Paris Campbell fly.
Okay, the Colts. I've been pretty on record or consistent since they got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is an upgrade over Carson Wentz. I don't think it's a massive upgrade.
I agree.
Honestly, if this Colts team, if you place them in the NFL in 2019, before Josh Allen broke out, before Justin Herbert was in the league, when Tom Brady was on the Patriots his last year, really, then I'd be like, you know what? The Colts, they can make a Super Bowl run. They can go it. But now you look at the rest of the AFC, and you have Justin Herbert now. You have Josh Allen breaking out being the best quarterback in the league.
Russell
you have
Wilson's
Russell
now in the
Wilson,
AFC.
AFC.
The same team virtually the Colts beat last year. They beat the Bills last year.
Good for them. In the
They
playoffs?
smoked them.
The playoffs?
They smoked them.
Okay, the Bills lost to the Jaguars, too. Like, it happens.
The Colts lost to the Jaguars too.
And it's exactly like it's the regular season. A lot of weird shit happens.
But you're acting like they don't have a chance. They have a chance.
I mean, it's a 1 week playoff.
Maybe
so
it's not as big of a chance as you think.
It's not a best of
but
7 series.
You are just counting them out.
I am. I think they win the division.
I'm having them make the playoffs because they're going to win the division.
They win the division, and
but then it gets tough.
Okay.
It gets tough.
I can't wait until we're here at week 15, and then I know you're never going to do it, but I know that you are going to. You'll at least be able to say they can be a dark horse.
I don't have a big spiel because I think they're an average team in the AFC. I have them going 10-7. They'll win the division, but Matt Ryan,
average team is strong
in the AFC.
That's what it's a little strong still. I feel like they're a little slightly
They're the
above.
8th best team in the AFC. There's 16 teams in the AFC.
Who are the 7 better than them?
I have the 4 teams in the AFC West.
Agreed.
Bills, Ravens, Bengals. That's so the 8th best team. That's what I said.
The Raiders are.
Hey, I'm quick to.
The Raiders are
throw
all
Miami
around.
in there.
The Raiders are all around better team than the Colts.
I'll take the Colts. I'll take the.
I would take
Raiders.
the Raiders.
All around.
I would
It's
take
got
the
Devontae
Raiders.
Adams. Yeah.
Offensively, yeah. Defensively, they're not close.
Raiders were a play away from advancing to that next
Raiders made
round.
the playoffs.
But they're not. Their defense is not close to the Colts defense.
I mean,
It's
they
not
just
close,
got better
even
on the
better.
D line. Secondary wise, yes, they're not that good. They're not that great by any means. But even still, the pressure is going to be fine. Where it's going to alleviate some pressure on the secondary. Offense got
You're
better.
counting on Chandler Jones' health.
Which is that wrong of me?
You're counting on Paris Campbell's health.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's fair.
Paris
fair.
Campbell's.
So
Come on,
now-
bro.
so
I'm
that-
not. Wait, hold on. Wait, whoa.
Oh my god.
If Paris Campbell doesn't play and gets hurt, I still think the Colts are a great team. I'm not counting on Paris Campbell to be the reason why the Colts are great. The Colts can be great regardless. It's just Paris Campbell gives them a guy
Jones,
who can be the second best receiver.
All right, Chandler Jones, games played since 2015. 15, 16, 16, 16,
Can you just do
16,
the last
5, 15.
3 years?
That's the last 7 years. He
Just
had
do the
one
last 3
injured
years.
season.
No, I know.
15, 5,
As
16.
of recently.
He got hurt one season.
In
15, 5,
2020.
15, 5, 16.
Yeah.
He's healthy.
The 5,
He's healthy.
The
He
5
had one,
worries me.
He had one injured
The
season.
5 worries me. And
had
also
one injured
the
season.
Raiders offensive line isn't good.
But
All right,
even
bro.
still, Derek Carr still made it
Okay,
work. And I was
regardless, if
adamant
you
on
wanna take
that
the
offensive
Derek Carr
line.
and Matt Ryan are the
Fine,
same
give him
tier.
the Raiders. They're the 7th best team in the
But
AFC.
I would
Sick.
take Derek Carr right now.
I'm
And
not
that
pushing
offense
back. I
is
like
better.
Derek Carr.
But I'm saying, and that offense is significantly better in totality.
Listen, the
It's
Colts,
not significantly better. It might be slightly better.
Matt
think the
Ryan would
Colts
be
are Super Bowl?
creaming his pants if he had Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller.
I just don't know how you say that when the Colts finished with a top 10 offense and defense.
You think
Because
the Colts are
Jonathan Taylor is him.
It's a their offense was a top 10 offense and it got better.
they're Super Bowl caliber? The Colts.
They're dark horses, yeah. They're dark horses.
12-5, you have to have them being a
Yeah.
contender.
12 and 5, they're competing for the
Yeah,
one
no,
seed.
Yeah,
it's
bro,
not.
they're dark horse. You already
12
look,
and 5, you're
I
competing for
already-
the one seed.
I already
That
told you.
doesn't make you a
I've
dark
said-
horse.
yes, it does.
If
'cause
you're a
my
top
team's the
3
Bills.
seed-
The 12-5.
12
I've told
5,
you guys
bro?
You're a
I told you
contender.
my Super Bowl pick are the Bills.
Okay, but that doesn't mean everyone else is a dark horse. There's
So-
other contenders.
So you're in on the Bills already?
I'm all in on the Bills.
I mean, the Bills are my choice right now to come out of the AFC.
Really?
I'm all in. The two teams I'm all in on in the AFC are the Chargers and the Bills.
So when the Chargers don't win the division, you're going to be shocked?
I wouldn't be shocked. I'll just say that's something that the Chargers would do. It happens all the time.
Fair enough. I don't disagree with that.
But I wouldn't be shocked. But they should win it. Look at all they made the most moves of any team.
If they're going to be 12-5, they're going to be a top 3 seed at worst in the AFC, which means they're not a dark horse. They're going to have home field advantage
if I
for
have
the first
two
two
teams
rounds
over
of the
them,
playoffs.
are they a dark horse?
No, they're contenders.
They're contenders.
That means they're a borderline AFC championship team.
Because in your eyes, then the Broncos would be a dark horse.
So last year in the NFL, the Broncos are, I guess, yeah.
In your eyes, that's a dark horse.
Yeah, even though I would never put them as that, but
you think the Colts are better chance than the Broncos?
Yes,
oh
I do. I do.
That just makes no sense. Respectfully,
I do. Keep sleeping on the Colts, man.
I'm not sleeping. Am I sleeping in your opinion?
I think you're taking a nap.
Whatever you think, man.
We both have them going 10-7. We have them winning the division. That's sleeping.
I think you're in deep sleep. You're in REM right now. You're
that's
napping.
a little bit more acceptable. You've been a little bit rude.
I have them 10-7 win the division.
No, I mean in general.
Hey, the thing that irks me the most about your take on the Colts all the time is that it's rooted in Matt Ryan hate.
It's not rooted
That's
in
really
Matt
what
Ryan
it is.
hate. They're a good team, but not special.
Bro, I know
there's 7 other teams that are special in the AFC.
I know it's rooted in Matt Ryan hate because last year, at the end of the year, you said the Colts are dark horse contenders.
I did.
And they got better.
And I realized, wow, I was fucking wrong.
And they got better at not only at other key positions, but at the most valuable position in football. And then at least Drew is admitting the Colts, they won't be nice.
And the 7 teams over that I think are better than them in the AFC have 7 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The most important position.
I'll tell you what, when he listed the names of the teams that he thinks are going to be better than him, I don't disagree with the majority. Well,
listen, we're going to find out because the Colts face the Broncos. The Colts are going to face a lot of these good teams.
The Broncos, who you have beaten them this year.
I mean, it could go either way. Like, yeah, I mean, I probably do have the Broncos beating them, but it could go either way. That's a game
they're going to be a great regular season team. They're going to win 10, maybe 11 games, but I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Our offense is more complete than theirs. Yes. Defensively, you could argue that they have a little bit more.
Michael Pittman is better than every receiver on your team.
Going into the season, if you want to say that.
It's a small gap between him and Jeudy.
Going into the season, if you want to say that, fine.
It's small.
But
I'd rather you say Sutton.
Jeudy, this is where you lose me, bro. It's just so hard to level with you when you just are just so stubborn.
No, it's just you guys are counting on this Jerry Jeudy breakout.
You're counting on Paris Campbell.
At least I'm putting my chips in the right basket, bro.
Would you rather have Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton or Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell?
I close my eyes, I step back, and I shoot. Come on.
Yeah, it's not close.
Well, you didn't ask me that question. I would go with the Broncos too. But Pittman is the best receiver of
okay, but
of
I don't really care if it's one-on-one. Like, show me the cores of both of these teams if that's how we're comparing.
Can I ask you a question? Honestly, I could be wrong here. Just off memory alone. Sutton's one season was better than Michael Pittman's last year.
He put up 1,100
yards. 11-6, right? What did Michael Pittman have last season? Can you do me that favor? This is just off memory. Honestly, I'm curious.
1,082, 88 receptions, 6 touchdowns.
So similar. So we already have Sutton, who's pretty comparable to Michael Pittman.
No, that's why I said Sutton. I'll take Sutton, not Jeudy,
whose ceiling is higher than the both of theirs.
That's ceiling, though. I mean, look, if you think...
And I'm telling you right now, Jeudy and Russ already are having a great connection in camp.
I'm fine with you thinking Judy's going to break out. I have no problem. It's actually more of a unpopular opinion to say Jeudy won't break out.
Which is why it's pissing me off.
Everybody is saying Judy's going to break out.
Which is because it's the correct opinion to have.
No, it's an opinion to have. It's not the correct one because it didn't happen. It can't be correct if it didn't happen.
All right, fine, man. If that's the route you want to take, fine.
Like, I don't know. Something can't be correct if it is yet to happen.
You say the same thing about everything we talk about on the show, bro.
Yeah, but it's an opinion show. We don't say it's correct. It's just an opinion
this is what
based
I'm saying.
On projections.
It's the vocabulary and the diction that I'm choosing to use right now.
Yes, but it doesn't make it a correct prediction, you know? So, Jeudy, I've already listed out concerns for why I don't think it's a breakout. The fit between him and Russ, I think, is a little bit shady.
Because Russ can't throw over the middle of the field too, right? Because he's too short?
No, he can throw over the middle of the field. He can lay it in there.
But wasn't that your thing that you told me that he doesn't really strive over the middle of the field?
If you look at his heat maps with that PFF makes where it shows it has wherever quarterbacks pass the ball is in red, wherever they don't is in blue. The entire middle of the field for Russell Wilson is blue. The entire outside of the field for Russell Wilson is red.
Do you think that coincides with the fact that DK and Tyler Lockett are deep threats?
I don't think necessarily, because he's had route runners in the past that he's played with before, like Doug Baldwin.
And I'm sure that they had some connections.
No, great years.
Yeah, he's had great years, but most of those were outside the numbers. Like the heat map was still similar.
What makes you think Jeudy can't win outside the numbers?
Because I think he's going to be in the slot. I think Patrick and Courtland Sutton are the outside receivers. I think they're going to be the outside receivers in that offense.
But I'm saying Jerry Jeudy's
Jeudy
his route running abilities is going to get him open on the outside as well.
Look, I'm not saying you're wrong, but he's going to play in the slot, which primarily you are working in the middle of the field.
So he might be every single time Russell Wilson's first option.
As a slot?
Yes.
I don't think so. I think it's more likely Courtland Sutton is the number one option on that team.
I'm going to disagree, but that's fine.
Like,
that's
look,
fair.
it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with being a role player, bro. Jeudy can be a fine role player.
He's not a role player.
He can have a Brandon Ayuk like impact. That's what Ayuk has been having. It's fine.
It's all right, man.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Listen, I just love that we're getting this all out now, because come season starts, we're just going to pull up all this film.
Okay, and Jerry Jeudy breakout, yeah. We're going to see. Like I already said, schematically, there's just stuff that worries me about it. I'm not so quick just because of the name and his draft position.
It's all right, man.
Yep, it is unfortunate.
wrong side of
Paris
history.
Campbell was a higher touted prospect than Terry McLaurin.
No, he was. That's a fact,
And
though.
Jerry Jeudy was one of the most polished prospects that come out of Alabama.
But that's what shows you that not all the time prospects that are rated higher are the ones that end up with the great careers.
Paris Campbell versus Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I know. Terry McLaurin's significantly better. Not once did I say Paris Campbell's better. I just
but
said
you threw that in there.
I said that because Paris Campbell is not just some scrub. Like Paris Campbell, he just hasn't had the opportunity. He's been too hurt.
In the games he's played, he's averaging like 30 yards a game.
Most of that was with Jacoby Brissett.
That was 2021. This was this past season.
He played what, 4 games?
6.
6 games. He got injured in the 6th one.
That's all I have to go off of, though, bro. Like he doesn't. What else am I supposed to go off of?
The film when you watch it. Okay. He gets open. Like Jacoby Brissett was throwing to him in 2019. He doesn't throw deep down the field at all. So that's why, like,
all right, man.
All right, we're going to see, man.
We will. Let's move on.
Next topic, the Houston Texans. What are you expecting from them this year? They fired David Culley. That was a very controversial move in their franchise because they promoted Lovie Smith, the defensive coordinator. They went 4-13 last year. Do you think they finished with a similar record, a worse one? What are your thoughts on the Texans?
I have them winning one more game. I have them going 5-12, and I think if you're a Texans fan, you should be excited. Right, we have Davis Mills last year who showed out and was arguably the second best rookie in the NFL, right up there with Mac Jones. Honestly, no one was expecting him to have this type of impact, being a 3rd round pick. But I think if you're a Texans fan, you're gonna have a really young team, right? You took Derek Stingley, number 3 overall, boomer bust type of pick, right? Depending on what player you're getting from LSU, or are you getting that top tier shutdown corner, or are you getting the guy who's been injured the last couple of years? You have Kenyon Green, who selected at 15, who could play 4 different positions on the offensive line. Jalen Petrie at pick 37, who played in the slot a lot more than safety while he was at Baylor, but you just lost Justin Reed, so is he going to go back to play safety? Is he going to play corner? Then John Mechie, wide receiver 2, outside of opposite of Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is one of the most consistent receivers in the league. You can not nail him down for 1,000 yards. He just does it in his sleep. But I think John Mechie was someone who surprised me when I was watching Jameson Williams film. I was not expecting to be as impressed as I was.
He's good.
It's very good possession type of wide receiver, and I think he has a very easy role carved out for him because he doesn't have to beat out many other players. Like Nico Collins is probably his biggest competition outside of obviously Brandon Cooks. And then Dameon Pierce in the 4th round out of Florida never really got the full workload, only had 100 carries in his junior and senior season, but had a really good efficiency ratings. And the Texans last year, league worst 3.4 yards per attempt. Their running back room, they also brought in Marlon Mack. So they're going to have a little bit more explosiveness there, which I think you should be excited for. But unfortunately, I mean, their schedule isn't easy, and they're still one of the worst teams in football. I have them starting off like 0-9.
Can you just name their W's for me? Because you said 5.
So I have them, the games that that I think they'll win. Week 11 at Washington. I think they'll split with Tennessee, and Week 17 versus Jacksonville.
Split with Tennessee.
Yeah. I think there's a few other games where they can win. They could go 50-50, where I gave them 2 wins because there's like 4 or 5 games at Chicago, at Jacksonville, at the Giants, and then Cleveland, depending on quarterback. Cleveland probably beat them, but there's probably like 3 games there that I think could go either way, which which brought up their win by 1 for me.
So if I'm a Texans fan, what I'm looking forward to the most is Davis Mills, and whether or not we could, if we're the Texans franchise, we can move on with him and start to see him as our franchise guy, or see if he's just at a minimum a guy that we could potentially just build around and try and actually compete at a higher level than what they're currently competing at right now. I feel like if I'm the Texans, this is my priority. I have a plethora of first-round picks for the future that I just received from the Cleveland Browns. I have a roster that definitely has holes scattered throughout the entirety of the team. But you know what? I love the selection of Derek Stingley. You needed a corner. You go out and you get, in my opinion, the number 1 corner in the draft. I know we're going to have some controversy on that.
Sauce.
I did have him over Sauce. And I think that you look at Stingley and how fast he is and how great he was that year in 2019 with LSU before the injuries and before that the lack of play started to teeter people's opinions of him. We saw him as a true freshman be unbelievable, have one of the best seasons we've seen in a corner in college. But overall, one player is not going to change the entire landscape of a defense. I still think defensively they have a lot of work that they need to do. Offensively, you basically glossed over it pretty well. You have Brandon Cooks, Mechie's in there. Pierce is an intriguing player to me because I feel like without the depth of running back that they have in that running back room, I feel like Pierce is going to be put in a position where he's going to get looks, and he might have a little bit of success. That's yet to be seen because their offensive line, where it's not, I don't think it's horrible off the top of my head, but of course you have Laramie Tunsil in there. That's gonna save face.
Green.
There you go. Thank you very much. But ultimately, I still just think that they're their ways away, regardless of how I see Davis Mills. I don't think that he's a bad quarterback by any means. I think that he's more than serviceable for sure. However, I just look at the schedule and I see a very select number of wins.
Yeah.
Week 3, I have them beating Chicago at Chicago. I know that you're probably looking at that game as one that Chicago can win.
I
but
did have them as a win for Chicago.
You have them beating Chicago or Chicago winning? So that's what I figured. I have them beating Washington, and I have them beating Jacksonville week 17, and that's really it. I mean, I really tried to be fair in my assessments with their schedule, but I just don't see it happening where they're beating. They're not. I don't see them beating the Colts. I don't see them beating Tennessee. Kansas City, you have teams like Dallas. Cleveland's one of those games that, depending on Deshaun's, like you mentioned already, that could go either way. Giants is another one that you could see going either way, but I like to hold out optimism when it comes to the Giants, of course, for whatever reason. I'm a fool if I'm being real, but ultimately, I think Houston, if you're a Houston fan, what you should be looking forward to most is seeing Davis Mills progress.
And I think you should also be excited because even if Davis Mills plays about what he did last year, hopefully he improves, chances are you're probably still going to have a top 5 pick. Plus, you're going to have Cleveland's pick, which is probably not going to be great as we're expecting Deshaun to be suspended. So worst case scenario is Davis Mills, you go whatever, 5-12, 4-13, whatever it might be. You get a top 5 pick. You have Davis Mills now, who you could possibly flip for a second-round pick maybe if he plays and improves on last year's season. Plus, you have Cleveland's pick, so you could go get one of the quarterbacks that are going to be coming out in the 2023
Bryce
class.
Young,
plus, have another mid, maybe top 12 pick with Cleveland.
I feel like the progression with the Texans has been pretty funny. In 2020, this team they had a hole at literally every single position on their roster. 2021, they filled most of those holes with players on one-year deals.
That was crazy.
That were average at best. That outside of like Desmond King, he was like the most notable guy they signed. And now this year, they filled all those holes with like rookies or second-year players. Like right now, you have John Mechie, Kenyon Green, Christian Harris, Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Damian Pierce. They all have a chance to start at some point this season, which means they'd be starting about 7 rookies. Then second-year players, Davis Mills, Nico Collins, Brevin Jordan, they're going to be starting about like 10, 11 first or second-year players next year.
As they should. And
I know everybody's really gassed up and souped up about like this Davis Mills thing because he did show some things on film last year. Weeks 14 to 18, he had a 9-2 touchdown interception ratio, 251 yards per game, 68% completion percentage. But it wasn't all pretty, like Mills had the lowest success rate on checkdowns of any quarterback in the last 4 years by nearly 11%. Those are on specifically flat routes. He had a 16.7% success rate on those plays, which means that he's one of the bigger check down artists that we've seen in a very long time. He checks it down a lot, which is why his efficiency numbers were pretty good.
Would you believe me if I'm looking at a highlight clip of Paris Campbell catching a ball that Matt Ryan definitely did not put in the spot where he needed to be, but Paris Campbell made a hell of a catch.
Well, Paris Campbell could play.
Hold on. Hopefully we don't get copyrighted for this.
No, we won't, because it's not in the.
No one can see this.
Yeah, they can't see it. Let's look at that pretty ball.
It's a terrible throw.
Wow, look at that.
That throw was ass, but that catch was nice.
Nice grab.
I mean, that's where he could only put it though.
You could put it on the outside.
If he put it on the outside, he's gonna go out of bounds. He was gonna go out of bounds though.
If you put it higher, he catches it and comes down 2 feet.
That's not bad ball placement because
he threw it at the corner. He threw it at the corner.
Dude, what we're not going to do is break down training camp film.
Bro,
that's what we're not going to do.
The corner's not looking at the pass though.
Dude, what are you saying about the
corner's not looking at the pass.
What are you saying about the
Texans?
Texans?
Dude, that pass was ass.
Stop hating on Matt Ryan.
We just talked about the Colts for like 50 minutes.
Stop hating on Matt Ryan, man. But listen, I think the Texans are going to be bad again next year. There's no way around it. I think that Davis Mills is going to be good enough to be like, he's solid, but not good enough for the Texans to be like, we're going to pass up on Bryce Young for this guy.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
Like, no, I think Davis Mills is a bridge quarterback. He had a good rookie season, but I'm not super high on Davis Mills' projection.
Davis Mills needs to be Kirk Cousins for them to pass on Bryce Young.
I think Davis Mills...
And I'm not saying Kirk Cousins now. I'm saying Kirk Cousins when he was ascending to being a starter.
I think Kirk Cousins is Davis Mills' ceiling. That's what I think his ceiling is.
So well said.
But I'm not very high on Davis Mills. I think Kirk Cousins, although he has a limited ceiling, Kirk Cousins like makes the right play almost all the time. His problem is that he just can't extend anything. Davis Mills can use his legs a little bit, but there are some decisions there that I do have questions about. But this team is going to be bad. I mean, the additions they made to the roster, Marlon Mack, who's always hurt, AJ Cann, guard from the Jaguars. Steven Nelson was pretty good. Their secondary might overachieve a little bit with Stingley and Steven Nelson and Desmond King. They brought in Christian Kirksey, Jerry Hughes, and Mario Addison. So bringing in some players from the Bills' defensive line, I think that's going to help them. But they are just devoid of talent currently. And their rankings from last year, 30th ranked offense and 27th ranked defense, is probably going to stay around the same. I have them going 3-14. The only wins I see them winning are Chicago. Jacksonville could be a win, but they could very well lose that. I think they split. So Chicago, Jacksonville, and the Giants. That's it, really.
That's fine. I had Washington.
Those are the 3 wins I have them winning.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
3 games I have them winning.
I have 3-14 also, so
that's
cool
why,
that.
yeah. I'm not, Texans are the Texans.
I know, and I'm super stoked to talk about this next team.
Yeah. Also, I was going to ask you, so if Jeudy has 66 receptions for 987 yards, what are your thoughts?
I'm disappointed.
That's a break. Okay. I'm just checking. Because
I'm consistent, bro. I'll be honest.
No, I'm just checking because
I'm disappointed.
Denver Fan, which is a radio station in Denver, they crunched up a bunch of numbers to calculate where Jerry Jeudy stats should be year 3. So based on his catchable ball percentage and also accounting for Russell Wilson and his impact and the target share,
that was their
it's saying the projection is 66 catches for 987 yards.
Any touchdowns or no?
It has no touchdowns here in this projection.
That's fine. If they're going based off projections, it's understandable. Where his rookie season, he had over 800. Second season, missed some time, wasn't as productive as many Bronco fans would have wanted him to be, me included. But I understand the situation that he was in, and I understand now that he's getting Russell Wilson, and the sky's the limit.
I think that's a good season for him.
I would be disappointed.
Me too.
Like, I know you'd be disappointed because you're, like, saying 1,300 yards and stuff, like 1,200 yards and stuff. But I think that's a reasonable season for him.
Just with Russell Wilson, I just can't see a world where he is not at least an 1,000-yard receiver. They should have just been kind and just given him 1,000. What, 984 is what they had?
987.
Okay.
I'd agree with you if...
He's a first-round pick. I want to see him dog.
I'd agree with you if the Broncos didn't have so much depth. Like, if this was Seattle where it's Lockett, DK, and nobody else, I'm like, that Jeudy should get 1,000.
It should just be a known fact that Jerry Jeudy should be the most important wide receiver.
Separate himself from the rest of these guys.
Because he
I don't think it's really
has certain characteristics that nobody else on the team has.
And Sutton has some also.
The only one that I will give him is his over-the-top ability of literally a one-on-one. But even still, Jeudy has shown flashes where one-on-one he can still win.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing for
Over
you.
the top, I said.
So
yeah,
what if it's just 1,000 flat?
He breaks over 1,000 in year 3. I'm happy, but I want to see him.
13-yard difference.
So you're saying the 13-yard
No,
difference is you from disappointed to I'm good.
But I want to see him clean over 1,000. Clean, like 1,100. I want to see him just not even it be a question, because 1,100 you can't even. There's nothing you could say negatively on 1,100.
I don't know if you guys
because
saw
I'll tell you what, 1,001 from Mike Williams. I shit talk him for that. Because he barely broke 1,000, and this is the guy that everyone likes to chat about being that guy. Where
but
this
he
past
was
season,
he was great 2019. He was great.
He was good.
Even though it's just
1,001 yards, you know what? You're really good. 1,000 yards, you're really good.
He got that in 15 games.
There's no
so
small
he didn't
feat.
play the final game.
But in Mike Williams' first 2 seasons, Jerry Jeudy had that combined in his first.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy is going to be great. No, for sure. But he still played same amount of games.
So Jeudy, I don't know if you guys seen this.
He played a decent amount of games, actually,
but
believe it or not.
He suffered a groin injury at practice 2 days ago, and he tweaked his hamstring 3 days ago in practice. Jeudy.
He came back out to watch the rest of practice, so I don't think it's serious.
Yeah. I mean, also, I was just gonna let you guys know, just for me to go on a little bit of a victory lap here.
I would love the victory lap in June.
Debo wasn't my only wide receiver take last year. It was Mike Will too. I said he was going to have his best season of his career.
I said that also.
Mike Will was fantastic the first 8 weeks.
I said that also. Yeah.
With him being in the X receiver in that
he
offense.
Has to be. He had to be.
So Mike Will. So
had Justin
I probably had more. So it's 2 for 2. You know
he had 10 games in 2017. 2016, 16 games. He only started 6 because he's not him.
Who was starting over? Obviously Keenan. Who the hell was starting?
I don't know. It makes
Williams.
The other Williams?
I forgot his first name, but he's the deep threat for them. 2018 Chargers. I know. Let me see. I think he had 1,000 yards that year. Let me see. So Keenan Allen had 1,200 basically. Tyrell Williams had 60.
Tyrell.
He
was good.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He had 653 in that year, so he had less than Mike Will.
653.
I mean, Mike Will had in 16 games had 664 yards but 10 touchdowns in 5 starts.
Impressive for
sure.
sure.
I mean, 6'5".
Yeah, I mean he's the red zone threat there. That year they had Keenan, Mike Will, Tyrell.
And the next season, 1,001
Austin,
was 2, and then the year after
Antonio
that,
Gates.
756.
How many touchdowns?
5. But
Touchdowns fluctuate.
I mean, I understand. Like, look, Mike Will is a disappointment for where he was selected. He was supposed to be an elite receiver, but he's still a great receiver.
My point being is, if people can prop up Mike Williams, I should be allowed to prop up Jerry Jeudy, which I'm not saying you guys aren't saying that. I'm just speaking generally. I believe in Jerry Jeudy and his ability, especially.
So
with
what's
Russell
your
Wilson.
what would be your thought process if Jeudy is Mike Will in terms of the production?
Do you want me to live in your hypothetical? Because I don't think that that's going to happen.
Because
Mike
Will just had 1,100 yards, and that was his best season.
And even still, there was moments in that season where he was a no-show.
Oh, yeah. The first 8 weeks is when he absolutely dominated the league, and he disappeared.
I say this. I listen, I don't want this to be
so if Jeudy has 1,100, you're disappointed?
No. I said 1,100 I'm fine with.
You're fine with?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like overly ecstatic with or fine with?
1,100 and we are the top of our division.
So
take that to the fucking crib.
So why 1,100 for Mike Will? You're like disappointed.
In year 5, I'm not disappointed in it.
Okay.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying people love to prop up Mike Will, and they were consistently saying Mike Will, Mike Will, Mike Will. Then let me get my Jerry Jeudy propaganda off.
Mike Will was very up and down. It wasn't just the first 8 weeks. He was just very up and down last season.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers' offense was up and down. Joe Lombardi, new play caller. Nothing was really consistent for them, and they got hit with like some COVID bugs and stuff throughout the year.
Word.
But
last
team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Is Trevor Lawrence going to take that next step this season? Doesn't have to be MVP candidacy like Carson Wentz in 2017 with Doug Peterson. Just take a next step, because in his rookie year, a lot of people have doubts whether he can even be a franchise quarterback at this level. So do you think he's going to take that step for now people to say, you know what, he's a franchise guy?
Me personally, I'm still a fan of Trevor Lawrence, and I still believe in his abilities. Especially now you're bringing ETN back. You bring him a weapon. Let me not say a tremendous upgrade in Christian Kirk, but nope. I'm not gonna get rude. But Christian Kirk's an upgrade for sure.
You think so?
What
Kirk is good, man.
I don't know, man. I'm not.
That's a cold take from you, Joel.
What was that?
No, putting a guy that hasn't played much over Kirk. I don't know.
Oh, this guy.
He doesn't play.
No. My point being, let me continue with what I'm saying. I apologize. Now you bring in Doug Peterson, also who's been great in quarterback development. I believe that Trevor Lawrence is going to be put in a better situation to succeed this year, where his offensive line's in a good spot. He doesn't have to worry about that. The one thing that I would like to see them do more of is surround him with wide receiver talent. And I think as the years go on, the Jacksonville Jaguars will do that. But defensively, I still have my worries about them. You bring in Walker with the number 1 overall pick. That's still a question as of right now because you're going based off physical attributes instead of actual production. Me, personally, I would have gone the safer route and try to meet in the middle with an Aiden Hutchinson who had both the production and the physical attributes. But that's just me. What do I know? Just a guy that talks on a podcast. A pretty successful one, if I say so myself. However, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to take a nice stride in his development. I'm not too sure based off the current landscape of the Jaguars, whether it's going to be one that propels him into the top 15 conversation or the top 10 conversation. I think that the Jaguars are still their ways away from being true contenders. But I think that now you bring in Doug Peterson, you bring in Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk. Hopefully James Robinson comes back. He showed to be very effective, not only in the run, but as well as the pass. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be in some decent hands. Unfortunately for the team as a whole, I don't see a great outcome for them come the end of the season. Right now I have them with a record of 4-13. I'll go over the wins. I have them winning actually week 1 at Washington. I have them beating the Colts. I have them beating Houston, and I have them beating Tennessee week 18. And that's all that I have them winning this season. Going against the Chargers, Philadelphia, that's going to be difficult. Indianapolis, I have Indianapolis beating them, splitting, I have the Giants beating them. I have Denver beating them, of course, Las Vegas, Kansas City, Baltimore. Detroit's one of those that you probably could question, but I'm higher on Detroit this season. I definitely like the route that Detroit's going this season, or I should say the projection of Detroit this season I'm pretty high on. And Tennessee, I don't see it. Dallas, I don't see it. Jets, I gave you guys that W. And Houston, I think that they do end up splitting as well. So that's 4-13 right there.
I'm very interested when we get to the NFC East, what your record's going to be for the Giants.
I know, man.
You got them with a few wins.
I mean, what, 2, 3 right now? I mean,
might be more than I have.
I'm hoping the Giants can teeter into that 7, but I don't know, bro.
You think the Giants or Lions have a better record?
Lions. I like the Lions. I do. Their offense is cute, bro. I'll be honest. Swift, Jameson's
not
Amon Ra. I know, but still, he's going to be probably back around week 4, week 5, optimistically. Amon Ra, like I said, Jameson Williams, Swift, Jamal Williams. That offensive line is fantastic.
They got some guys.
Goff just has to be
what he was last year.
If a little bit better. I need a little bit better. And then they can actually win maybe ceiling 8 games.
That's fair. Trevor Lawrence, it really depends on what you think that next step is, because we talked about it. Last year was a historically terrible season.
It was bad.
But you had a ton go wrong for him, right? First of all, the roster wasn't that great. Their other first-round pick, Travis Etienne, had a Liz Frank injury. He was out the entire season. That was going to be his best friend, his checkdown, who obviously he played with at Clemson, had a great connection with. Then you had Urban Meyer, the whole Urban Meyer situation with probably one of the top 3 biggest failures in terms of head coaches of all time. Urban Meyer came in. Everyone expected him to change the culture, be able to develop Trevor Lawrence, develop this organization, really, and it obviously didn't go well. So going to this season, it can't be worse, right? There is no way that you have the roster has improved, the coaching has improved. Trevor Lawrence going into year 2, a full offseason, training camp, OTAs, mini camp, going through this for the second year, being able to get acquainted with all of his guys, getting Travis Etienne back, James Robinson potentially being back at some point during the season, although he did tear his Achilles, was that week 17, 18?
Late.
But you should be excited if you're a Jaguars fan, because similar to the Texans, you have a young team, right? You should be excited for Trevor and Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd in the second round, Travis Etienne, who when last time we saw him on the field was an electric playmaking running back. So for the Jaguars, I have a similar record. I have them going 4-13. the 3 wins that I have that I feel somewhat confident in, I think they're going to split with Tennessee. They're going to beat Houston. I have them winning against the Giants. And then there's a few games, whether that's at Washington, potentially at Detroit. I do. Wow. Potentially at Detroit, potentially at the Jets, potentially at Houston again. I think they'll win one of those games and get to 4-13. But overall, they're still a ways away. I think Jaguars fans know this. I think you should be expecting this. The AFC is just incredibly difficult. And if you go through this entire schedule, there's not many winnable games on here, unfortunately. Now, we did see the Jaguars go out and beat the Bills, in the regular season, although it was 9-6 and might have been the weirdest game of the entire 2021 season. Who knows? Maybe they go and steal a game here or there. We saw Doug Peterson, a very successful head coach, win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, who obviously is not the top-tier quarterback that we're expecting Trevor Lawrence to be. But, still one of the most highly touted prospects of all times. It's one bad year. I'm not going to overreact to it completely. But if Trevor Lawrence puts up another really incredible stinker this upcoming season, then I'm probably going to get on the train where he's not going to work out. Because we talked about a few months ago, those first 2 seasons are really important for a quarterback's development, and it really shows what type of quarterback they're going to be for the rest of their career. But at least going into this 2022 season, his second year in the league, getting a few guys in free agency to improve their offensive line, the wide receiver room, as well as get ETN back in the backfield, I think you should be excited. Hopefully he's able to develop and turn into that franchise quarterback they've been missing.
I'm a bit higher on the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence in general, because I think last year, despite the dysfunction, they competed in games. They competed versus the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. They were leading at halftime. They could have won that game. They beat the Dolphins. That was a huge win. They beat the Bills. They competed against the Colts both times. Second time, just beat them outright, and it wasn't even a competition. They competed against the Falcons. So they competed against the Jets. Like, there's a lot of close games there that could have went their way but just didn't go their way. Urban Meyer was a complete disaster. Yeah. Darrell Bevell was a complete disaster as an OC, as a play caller. Coaching matters so much in the NFL that if you don't have competent coaching, if you have average coaching, it can cost you a lot. When you have arguably one of the worst coaches of all time in NFL history, in Urban Meyer, that's a pretty big deal. 32nd ranked offense, and when you look at the stats, Trevor Lawrence, it shows that he didn't have a good rookie season. He was very bad. But during the season, I'm not watching much Jaguars games. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been watching more games of theirs, and Trevor Lawrence is impressive. Trevor Lawrence has one of the better pocket movements in the NFL already at his young age.
His one issue is that he just breaks the pocket a little bit too fast.
He steps into almost every throw. He doesn't shy away from throws.
Has an amazing arm.
And he just has an amazing feel. Because of that, when I look at what he has already in terms of intangibles and what he showed on tape, and you're adding in Doug Peterson, you have an improved wide receiver core. Although the Jaguars' weapons room is, it's still one of the worst in the league. I mean, last year they had a kick returner and a first-round bust as their best receivers. Like, now at least they have a solidified number 2 in Christian Kirk. They have Marvin Jones, who's a deep threat. And now their number 1 last year is now the number 4 in Chenault. So I think that is going to make a pretty significant difference. And Evan Ingram is somebody that he has drop issues, but he's able to win mismatches because he's an athletic guy at the tight end position. And they added a lot in the offseason. Travis Etienne is coming back. Kirk, Zay Jones, Ingram, Brandon Scherf, Fadakazi, Arden Key, Trayvon Walker, Alua Khan, Darius Williams, Devin Lloyd. They added a lot of talent on this roster. Now, Christian Kirk, I understand when he got his contract, everybody was up in arms about it and talked about how he's overpaid. But he's with Kenny Golladay in terms of their value. They're both tied 10th in the league.
And both are terrible contracts.
That's not a good thing.
They're tied. He's tied at 14 with Golladay in annual money. He's tied at 15 with Tyler Lockett in guaranteed money. And Kirk's contract is in the ballpark with the Brandon Cooks, Golladay, and Tyler Lockett's. And Kirk last year was 8th in EPA per target. So he produced. And although you can say, it was with Kyler, like Christian Kirk has showed that he can produce at the NFL level. He's not a high-end number 1, but he is by far the best option the Jaguars are going to have. If we look at last season, he is a significant upgrade.
DJ Chark, you're taking him clear over
DJ Chark didn't play last year.
I'm just asking generally. I agree.
I would take Kirk over Chark right now.
And
I think Chark has been hurt. He's only had one big time year.
Laviska's time might be gone.
Yeah, you're done with him?
Yeah.
It's tragic, truthfully.
It is, because he's a very talented player, very versatile, but just hasn't really gotten that opportunity. And now we're going to year 3 with him. It's gonna be tough for him to break out, especially now. It's not loaded. I mean, he has a lot more guys to beat out.
Zay Jones and
if he couldn't do it last year with no one,
agreed.
It's hard for me to get.
It's the both Jones, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones,
and also it's just unfortunate. Like we've spoken to it ad nauseum, truthfully, about how the coaching has put them in such a shitty situation, but that didn't benefit Laviska Shenault by any means either.
That's true. Yeah. He had 600 yards last year. I would like to see him get some more rushing opportunities because he did that in college as well.
Let him be the wide back. He's not in a position where he's not or he shouldn't be open-minded to the idea of being put in more situations with the ball in his hands.
Like last year, Trevor Lawrence made some of the best throws all season that weren't caught. I mean, last year he was a top 10 quarterback in terms of EPA on perfectly covered plays, but he was the worst on non-perfectly covered plays.
Like when you're too open for a 3.
Yeah, which means that Trevor Lawrence, when it was smothered, he dropped it right in the breadbasket. But for some reason, when things were open, he just frankly didn't really see it well. But I think that's due in large part to coaching. That's in large part to coaches telling you where to go with the football in certain situations. If this is open, if you read this defender, go here. I feel like Doug Peterson's going to help with that tremendously. And I think that's really the factor that's leading me to say that they're going to win 6 games this year. Okay. I think both the Jets and the Jaguars are in positions to double their win total. 6 games may seem like a stretch, but I think they're going to win 1 against Indianapolis. They just always have their number. Houston, I feel like they can win it or either sweep them. I think most likely it's going to be a
split.
It's going to be a split. Okay. So that's 1 win against Colts, one win against the Texans. I think they beat the Giants. That's their 3rd win. I think they can beat Detroit. That's their 4th win. And I like the Jets. I'm a Jets fan, but they can beat the Jets too.
Low on Detroit or?
I'm not low on Detroit. They're just in the same tier to me.
Okay.
The Jaguars have a better defense than the Detroit Lions. The Jaguars' defense is their secondary group. You got Shaq Griffin. You have Tyson Campbell. You now have, I forgot their other cornerback that they just added. Oh, Darius Williams. So you now have 3 legitimate starting corners that you have. Their linebacking core got better. Defensive line is a bit better as well. So their defense, I think they have an all-around more balanced team than the Lions. And last year, the Jaguars showed, they beat the Bills. They got that surprise win. They competed with the Bengals. The NFL is a league where, they can beat maybe a Denver week 8 or a freaking a Tennessee week 14 or a Dallas week 15 and just shock everybody. So because of that, I think, I give them some of those gimme games, but then I'm taking into account that they're probably going to surprise us with one of those wins against one of the top teams.
That's how I feel about the Lions, so I can understand you feeling that way about this team because you know what? They have young, exciting talent.
Yeah, so that's why I have them at 6-11. It's either 6-11, 5 or 12, but I feel like you're going to see that growth out of Trevor Lawrence this year where he's going to be a top 18 quarterback.
And I'm rooting for that because I want Trevor Lawrence to live up to the expectations that were dawned upon him early in his career. It's unfair to a degree the expectations put on kids' shoulders like that at such a young age. However, I want him to live up to it because you know what? At a certain point, you can't make excuses.
Stat projection, I'll go 23, 24 touchdowns to 9, 10 picks.
Limit the turnovers, have a nice touchdown interception ratio. If you're the Jaguars, you're feeling extremely confident.
It's your number 1 priority is just developing him this year.
I think for sure, though, he's going for 4,000 yards.
4,000 with this receiving group?
Yeah, he went for 3,600.
All right, it's possible then. It's possible.
With horrible coaching, 3,600.
And ETN comes in and he's healthy and
James Robinson being out, you don't have.
He's healthy, man.
I don't think the running game is going to be as there.
ETN's like that.
I love ETN, but
yeah, he's like that.
It's a bit different with Robinson not being there.
You got him coming off a Liz Frank injury too. Who knows exactly he looks like.
That's very true. I'm optimistic.
But that's going to do it for episode 186 of the Pick Aside Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Pick Aside Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick Aside Podcast, and buy merch at pickasidepodcast.com. Thank you guys for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next time.